Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends and neighbors, what do you say? Good morning. Great to see you this morning. This is The Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., bringing you up to date on all the news of the day, whether it's happening here in our nation's capital, around the country, around the globe. Coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, and worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV. Events in the nation's capital. Hi, everybody. It's Bill Press. This year marks the 10th anniversary of doing the Bill Press Show, every day covering the news of the day with the nation's top newsmakers, either on the line or in our studio right here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Not only that, I go to the White House briefings every day to get answers to the top questions of the day. Bottom line, if it's happening in Washington, D.C., either at the White House or the Capitol, we are all over it. Every day, we welcome to our studio political leaders and reporters and labor leaders and newsmakers to help us understand the issues of the day. You know, we started out as a radio show only, but over the years, we have branched out to all forms of the new media. So today, we're not just a radio show. We are podcasting, streaming audio, streaming video, and we are simulcast live on Free Speech TV nationwide, reaching out to 40 million households on Free Speech TV, in addition to hundreds of thousands on local radio stations and online.
AFGE is so proud to be associated with this show and looks forward to being working with Bill and this show for a long time.
Bill Press is the right man at the right time with the right message.
And thanks to the Bill Press Show, we get our message out to thousands and thousands of people every day. Thank you, Bill Press.
The Teamsters are a proud partner with Bill Press on his show, telling the truth about what's going on with working families. Tune in.
Yes, it's been a fun and exciting 10 years so far for the Bill Press Show. We're looking forward to many more with all of you, broadcasting live every morning from the nation's capital.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
All right, here we go again with a great big Wednesday show. Wednesday, September 2nd. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bill Press Show. Thanks for being part of it on Free Speech TV and also worldwide on our video stream. TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Give us a call about the news of the day. Pardon me, at 866-55-PRESS. President Obama, one more day to enjoy the scenery up in Alaska, and why not? That's a long flight to get there. While he's there, he might as well make the most of it. He did yesterday, taking a walk on a disappearing glacier, up to a disappearing glacier, and then taking a little boat ride on one of the lakes there in a national park. Beautiful scenery, and the president talking about climate change and the disappearance of those glaciers because of climate change. He got some good news back at home. Meanwhile, two important Democrats, Chris Coons of Delaware and Bob Casey of Pennsylvania, both key and influential Democrats, coming out in support of the Iran nuclear deal. That gives the president 33 Democratic senators. He only needs one more to win approval of, or to defeat, I should put it, to defeat the Republican resolution of disapproval in the Senate for the Iran nuclear deal. Looks like he's going to get there. CNN insisted they would never change the rules, but they did yesterday change the rules for their debate, the second Republican debate on September 16, which will probably mean that Carly Fiorina will be on the stage with the grown-ups, and that means also there will be more than 10 candidates on that stage. The big question is, the Republican Party has changed its rules because they were unfair. Why doesn't the Democratic Party change its rules? Bernie Sanders and Martin O'Malley are right. 4 Democratic debates before the Iowa caucuses are just not good enough. 866-55-PRESS, that's the toll-free number. Give us a call. Let us know what you think about the news of the day here on this Wednesday edition of the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
To stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
2 more top Democrats come out in support of the Iran nuclear deal. President Obama within 1 vote of getting Senate support for that Iran deal, and he's going to get it by next week. You watch. What do you say? Hello, everybody. So good to see you today. It's a Wednesday, September 2nd, if you can believe it. Rolling right along, moving into the Labor Day weekend. Hope you've got big plans. But right now, we've got a lot to talk about here on the Bill Press Show. You'll find us in our nation's capital. We're keeping store, while everybody else is gone. We're in charge, right?
And we're keeping tabs of who's not here working during this time.
Well, it's easier to keep tabs of who is here because there's so few people. President's out of town, vice president's out of town, Senate's out of town, Congress is out of town, anybody with any sense is out of town. We're left.
Yeah.
But we'll tell you what's going on to the extent there's any news from Washington, but a lot of news around the country and around the world. We bring it all to you, wrap it up, tie it with a bow, present it to you, and you tell us, unwrap it and tell us what you think about it. 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number. You can also find us on Twitter at BP Show and reach us on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. On a hot, muggy Wednesday here in Washington, D.C., man, it's heating up again.
It was hot yesterday, man.
No, I know. Yeah. Had to turn the old AC on yesterday for the first time in a long time. Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson here leading the team.
Hey, Bill.
Guys.
Good morning. Here we are.
With Ray Rogers there on the phones to take your calls, again, at 866-55-PRESS. And look at you on Free Speech TV. We're looking at you on Free Speech TV. Thanks to Cyprian Bolding, our videographer. Every time you turn around, it looks like there's another presidential candidate. There's so many now that they're it's like 2016 is filling up, so they're already talking about 2020.
That's right.
Yeah. And of course, that was Kanye West getting his big award at the MTV ceremonies Sunday night.
The VMAs,
Sunday night. And Jimmy Kimmel points out last night, actually, Kanye West has a marked resemblance to another candidate for president.
So Kanye says he's running for president. He has a great deal in common with another famous person who wants to be president.
I have decided in 2020 to run for president.
I am officially running for president of the United States.
I'm not no politician, bro.
How stupid are these politicians?
I just wanted people to like me more.
I think they like me in a certain way, which is nice. It's always nice to be liked.
Tell you.
I can see it.
I get 2 big blowhards, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Self-obsessed.
Self-obsessed. Neither one qualified to be president.
I want that joint ticket. I'll tell you that much.
Right.
Yeah.
Trump, Kanye.
Trump or the other way around.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Imagine having Donald Trump as your vice president.
Trump hasn't talked about a running mate yet.
There you go.
He can put yay on the ticket and then...
I don't know. That interview with Sarah Palin went so well. I was thinking... You might think about that. Oh, man. We are so excited today. It's called the press primary. You can't get there unless they come through this filter right here. Bernie Sanders has been through. Now it's Martin O'Malley's turn today. Governor Martin O'Malley, Democratic candidate for president, joins us a little bit later in the program. We'll also have Ray Locker here from USA Today to help us through our third hour together as a friend of Bill. and a couple reporters in from Huffington Post, and then the New Republic. All of that coming up, and yes, big news, big change of plans on the debate front. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Believe it or not, we're getting to the point in the year where people start talking about best of 2015.
No, it's too early.
I agree. This is way, way, way too early. However, that didn't stop the International Film Critics. They had their vote on the best film of 2015, and they voted.
Aren't there more films coming out?
It would appear so, but they said the argument is that all of the sort of critically acclaimed films have already come out, right? Like they reserve those for a certain season.
How do they know?
Well, that's just how studios do it. So they get into contention for Oscar races and things like that. So they had their vote yesterday for the best film of 2015, and again, this is the International Film Critics, and they voted Mad Max: Fury Road as the best film of the year. That's a great movie. I don't know if you've seen it.
No.
It's the best action movie I've ever seen. It's phenomenal. Such a well-done movie. So there you go. We say farewell to Nancy Deer. Nancy Deer, she is a resident of was a resident of Miami, Florida. She was been married for 42 years to her husband that she met in 1972 during the George McGovern for President campaign. She passed away peacefully. In her obituary, I'm just going to read straight from her obituary, the last line. In lieu of flowers, the family has asked that donations be made to the Bernie Sanders presidential campaign.
Look at that.
So that is how she wants to be remembered.
Oh, boy.
So if you were a friend of Nancy, just make a contribution to Bernie. Bernie for president.
Feel the burn.
Feel the burn.
There was a woman last week who, in her obituary, said, whatever you do when I die, just make sure you don't vote for Hillary.
That's right, yeah.
So,
that's right.
I'm glad we have this side, too.
Yeah, right. Fair and balanced. We bring you both.
Yeah, these people don't hang around to vote for Bernie.
That's right. And in Philadelphia, congratulations to Ross Cohen and Blair Delson. The happy couple was married over the weekend. And then they spent their time after their wedding cruising around Philadelphia with a photographer. They wanted to get their pictures taken in the tux and the bridal dress around all these romantic spots around Philadelphia. And they were in Dilworth Plaza next to City Hall when 3,000 naked bicyclers descended upon them. They happened upon the naked bicycle ride that takes place in Philadelphia. So there are several shots of them in their wedding finery surrounded by a bunch of naked people on bikes.
Now, if they had any class, they would have taken their clothes off.
Right? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
When in Rome.
Exactly. That wedding's off to a rocky start.
Yeah, right?
Indeed. All right. Thank you, Peter. Yes, indeed. A little update on what we talked about with the debates. On Monday, remember, I came back from Minneapolis in the Democratic National Committee meeting, all fired up because Martin O'Malley, Governor Martin O'Malley, got me fired up over the debate situation where he, with a backup, by the way, of Senator Bernie Sanders, he blasted the DNC for agreeing to only hold 4 Democratic debates before the Iowa caucuses. And Martin O'Malley told us reporters, he said, it's flat out, they rigged the system in favor of Hillary Clinton because everybody knows who she is. She doesn't really need the debates. Martin O'Malley, Bernie Sanders, Lynn Chafee, and Jim Webb, if he continues to run, do need some more time. And people have a right. They have a right to make their case, and people have a right to hear their case. So he was accusing the Democratic Party of squelching the number of debates. Republicans, by the way, have a total of course, 12 debates. Remember, Martin O'Malley said, here's why we need the debates.
Will we let the circus run unchallenged on every channel as we cower in the shadows under a decree of silence in the ranks? Or will we demand equal time to showcase our ideas, our solutions to America's challenges, and real leadership for real results?
Yeah, because the other side, in other words, is out there making all these attacks, and we don't have the debates in which those candidates can respond. Bernie Sanders, the next morning, Sunday morning, I believe it was on State of the Union, agrees with Governor O'Malley.
I think that at a time when so many of our people have given up on the political process, when 80% of young people did not vote in the last election, 63% of all Americans did not vote, I think debates are a good thing.
But the Democratic Party holding firm, Democratic National Committee saying, nope, we're going to have a total of 6 debates, only 4 of them before Iowa, only 1 of them in New Hampshire. We're not going to change. We made up our mind. You know, we're not going to listen to Martin O'Malley, not going to listen to Bernie Sanders. Well, what a contrast. Now, on the Republican side, there's also a little bitching about the debates, mainly from Carly Fiorina, who said, because here's what the next Republican debate is on CNN September 16, and in accord with the Republican National Committee, because this is a GOP debate, CNN had said they were going to take decide who is on the grown-up debate, who's on the big stage, based on the average between average of polls. Who was top 10 in the average of polls between July 16 and September 10, which means that the polls before the first Republican debate would still be counted. And in those polls, Carly Fiorina was an asterisk.
Yeah.
She's really come up since the first debate.
Yeah.
But including those older polls would really drag her down. So that's what she was saying. This isn't fair. You are negating my recent success. CNN, for the last 3 weeks, they've said, nope, too bad. Nope, we're not going to change. We made our rules. We're going to stick by them. Yesterday, they had a big meeting with the Republican National Committee, and guess what? They changed the rules. They said from now on, the top 10 between August 6th and September 10. So it's the latter polls, the polls since the first debate, that are going to determine it. And that means 2 things. Probably means that Carly Fiorina will get in the debates.
Yeah.
We're talking about the grown-up debate, the big debate, the real,
Right.
the real debate. And it also means that there may be more than 10 people. They're not just taking the top 10. Anybody who is included in that, in above a certain percentage in that, between that period. So my point is this. Republicans have changed their rules. The Republican Party changed the rules. Republican candidates pointed out that the process was unfair. They went to CNN. CNN goes to the Republican National Committee. The Republican Party changed the rules to make it more fair, so more people get exposure, more people are able to get their ideas out there. Why doesn't the Democratic Party? Why won't the Democratic Party change? Come on, I think as Democrats, we ought to join Martin O'Malley and Bernie Sanders. Martin O'Malley is going to join us and talk about this on our show today. Don't miss it in our third hour together. Martin O'Malley. Why don't, we, I think, should be backing up Martin O'Malley and Bernie Sanders and calling our senators, calling our Democratic members of Congress, calling on the DNC and saying, come on, we need more debates. In fact, I know the number for members of Congress by heart. I don't know the number for the DNC by heart. Let's
I can find it. We can put it
we'll
out
take
there.
a break. Let's find it. We'll tell you what it is when we come back. Or maybe if we can even get an email address. And let's just bombard them and say, come on, we want more debates. We want more debates. It's not fair to only have 4 debates.
Yeah.
All right. Don't you think? Come on. We're Democrats. We ought to be the ones that are more flexible. In this case, the Republican Party is showing a lot of flexibility here, and the Democratic Party is just stuck in the mud. 8-6. Come on, let's shake it up. 866. Don't you think we should? 866-55-PRESS. You tell me. I think Martin O'Malley and Bernie Sanders are absolutely right. Let's have more debates.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad, as a friend, as a husband,
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
as a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
To stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
And online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, here we go at 24 minutes after the hour. The Bill Press Show here on this Wednesday, September 2nd. Trying to get a little fire started here under the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, and Chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz to open up the doors to a few more debates on the Democratic side for a couple of reasons. And by the way, it's not only Martin O'Malley with the total support of Bernie Sanders making that call. Yesterday, the head of the AFL-CIO, nation's number one labor leader, Richard Trumka, met with reporters at Christian Science Monitor breakfast, long-standing tradition here in Washington. And he said, yeah, we ought to have more debates. There's a lot of time. The field is wide open. We got great candidates. We need to hear from them, and the American people deserve to hear from them. So let's have more debates. Why not? Pardon me, my question to you, 866-55-PRESS. And let's put a little pressure on the Democratic National Committee and on the leadership of the Democratic National Committee. And we promise to deliver the number and the contact information. Mr. Ogburn.
Yes, indeed. If you would like to call the Democrats, you can reach them at 202-863-8000. That's one way to reach out and touch them on the telephone.
8,000, right? 863-8000?
863-8000. Democrats.org is their website. You could go there, and there's plenty of ways that you can contact them there as well.
Democrats.org. I'm sure if you go to their site, there'll be an opportunity to...
There's a contact us thing, and you can let them know exactly how you feel.
Yeah. And I think the arguments are simple. First of all, the message ought to be more debates. We need more debates. We want more debates among the Democratic candidates.
By the way, one other thing you could do if you're on Twitter, they are on Twitter at The Democrats. The Democrats. So you can tweet them there.
All right. Lots of ways to reach them there. Again, I think the arguments are, look, we've got great candidates. We have to get our message out. It's very important. Nothing to be ashamed of. The Republicans are blasting every day. They've got 12 debates they got 12 debates and 17 candidates, right? They're not holding them back. Why are we limiting ourselves to 4 before the most important, the first important contest, which are the Iowa caucuses? The networks would be more than willing to host these debates. It's the DNC that is blocking them, and they made the decision. And by the way, they made the decision without, just like they did on the Republican side, they made the decision without consulting the candidates to say, what do you think would work? What do you think would be a reasonable number? What would you like to see? They just announced this. Now, so did the Republican Party. But the Republican Party, when the Republican candidates, particularly led by Carly Fiorina, said, no, this doesn't work. This is not fair. Just yesterday, in consultation and in agreement with CNN, the Republican Party said, okay, you get your point. We'll change the debates. Okay? I think this leaves Republicans looking pretty good and Democrats looking pretty bad. Let's change it.
This is the Bill Press Show.
How I've been affected by gun violence over the years is through deaths of friends and family members and associates.
When I was 5 years old, I was held at gunpoint in a home invasion.
I've gone to the juvenile detention centers and I've met dozens of young kids, babies really, who have been affected by gun violence.
Directly, I've lost a few friends, but I think why this touches my heart is having children of my own.
You know, I've been at parties where, I had just left the party and, maybe 10, 15 minutes later, I heard that, somebody got shot and didn't make it.
There are a lot of people benefiting off of our pain, and it's time we do something.
I'm here to unload my investment because I think that it's important that we start kind of seeing where our money is going.
It's time to go to your financial advisor and demand that there are no gun investments in your 401k.
Even if you don't have investments, you can still help spread the word.
This is something everyone can do.
So if you push your people that have 401ks, it might be your grandma, it might be your cousin, this effort can make a big impact.
I'm unloading for my loved ones that I lost.
I'm unloading for my 18-year-old self.
I'm unloading my 401k for the future of my children.
I'm unloading.
I'm unloading
for my family and their future.
I'm unloading so that my daughter can grow up in a safe, loving world.
Unload and join the movement.
Use hashtag I'm unloading to pledge your support for gun-free investing.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
Hey, Free Speech TV world, it's Mama and the Mooks here at the Stephanie Miller Show.
Hello. Good morning.
Seinfeld was about nothing. I think the Stephanie Miller Show is about everything.
A little bit everything.
Yeah, a little
It's
bit.
kind of everything like thrown into a blender and we hit frappe.
Right.
With wine poured in.
Right. Senators, fart jokes, politics, pop culture, entertainment.
Drinking.
Drinking, random stray thoughts. It's what all the hip kids are talking about.
Yep.
We have the smartest, funniest people in the country on this show, do we not?
We absolutely do.
Right?
And our sexy liberal army of callers call in every day to tell us all about it.
There you go. And some right-wingers that Travis particularly enjoys talking to.
They're my favorites.
Okay. You can watch us every weekday from 9 to noon Eastern or 6 to 9 Pacific, which is really early. But we still, we try to, we're still pulling in people like Rob Reiner, Lily Tomlin, Frangela, you name it. You can only get it here at the Stephanie Miller Show. Mama, Mooks, fancy celebrities.
And everything.
And fart jokes.
Free Speech TV.
Maybe not as loud as Donald Trump, but he's a hell of a lot smarter. This is your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election, The Bill Press Show.
I don't know, being called smarter than Donald Trump.
Congratulations.
Does that count for anything?
And I disagree with that liner that Donald Trump is louder than you. I don't know. I just think you get pretty loud.
Oh, me? Moi? Hey, what do you say, folks? 33 minutes after the hour. It is the Bill Press Show. Wednesday, September 2nd. We've been talking, we'll move on here, but we've been talking about the debates. I really do think that Martin O'Malley, who joins us in our third hour together today, makes a very strong point that we need more debates on the Democratic side. Republicans have just eased up their rules to make them more fair. Democrats ought to do the same. Don't you think? 866-55-PRESS before we move on, Peter.
Yeah, don't forget, you can always tweet us at BP Show. At BP Show. We're always checking in on your comments. A couple of comments on the debates, whether or not we should have more. Jessica says, debates will only make Hillary stronger if she is truly the front runner.
Which, by the way, a very strong point. And we made that point yesterday in that she doesn't have anything to be afraid of.
Right.
More debates. I mean, it's not that it's going to make it more unfair to her. She's a good debater.
Yeah.
She can more than hold her own.
Yeah, absolutely. And shout out to all of the people who are tweeting us and copying the Democrats while they're tweeting them and say, we want more debates. Make sure you go and do that. Remember, you can find them on Twitter at The Democrats. Find us on Twitter at BP Show.
Right. Good. So let's raise hell here on this issue. Now, the other big issue politically that we sort of have talked a little bit about, but not really, I'd love to get into with you here on this next half hour, and that is, all right, the Hillary emails. You hear so much about it. I mean, the media is obsessed with it. Republicans in Congress have been long obsessed with them. And Republican presidential candidates are making this a big deal. I wanna know from you. Now let's just take a look at what we can about what we know about the email so far. Is this really a problem? And is it something that she and we ought to be concerned about? What do you think? From what you've heard so far, 866-55-PRESS. All right, now, I've been doing a lot of work on this the last couple of days. Let's put it in context, all right? You know, first of all, she made the decision when she was Secretary of State, became Secretary of State, to avoid and bypass the official State Department email system, internet system, and set up her own server in her own home and do all of her emails through that one private server. Big mistake. She now admits that was a big mistake. She said the other day, clearly that wasn't the best choice. Duh. Yeah. Wasn't the best choice. And now when we're reading her emails, by the way, you can see it created all kinds of problems for her while she was Secretary of State, because some of the stuff she wanted to talk to people about was classified, and then she was like, whoop, you can't say that because this is a private server, boom, boom, boom. So they had those problems while she was Secretary of State. And certainly that decision has created a big headache for her since she was Secretary of State, and now that she is a candidate for president. There were over 55,000 pages of emails from that period, and a judge has ruled that they all have to be made public. They're the ones that she turned over to the State Department. 55,000 pages after her staff had erased the ones that they thought had nothing to do with her time as Secretary of State. And a judge has ruled that out of the 55,000 pages, the State Department has to release a certain number every month. They have to keep the flow going. They can't just sit on them or release them all at one time. The latest dump, if you will, came just a couple of days ago. 4,368 new emails or additional emails, over 7,000 pages. Now, I admit I have not read every one of those emails, and I'm not going to. But I have sat down the last couple of days and read every single article that I could find written by every reporter who is paid to read all of those emails, right? And going through them to find out what is there, what's the reality about this, what people are calling this fatal Hillary Clinton email scandal. And I think, having read all those articles, that I could say two things about the fatal email Hillary scandal. Number one, it ain't fatal. And number two, it ain't really a scandal. Because when you read the emails, what do you find? First of all, she did nothing illegal. Nobody's saying she did anything illegal. Does something dumb? Yeah. Illegal? No. And when you look at all the emails, what I think is most stunning is how many there are, how much time she spent on email, and how inconsequential most of these emails are. I mean, they range from curious to boring, I find. What do we find out about Secretary of State Hillary Clinton from these emails? We find out, first of all, she was obsessed with politics. She just loved politics. She wanted to know all the political gossip. She wanted to know the gossip about everybody. We find out that she had a lot more time to watch television than I thought. I mean, she was really into Parks and Recreation. Her favorite show was The Good Wife.
Yeah.
Go figure. Right. About a wife cheater, right? I mean,
yeah.
Hello.
A little close to home.
A little close to home, yeah, right. She had this inordinate and bizarre kind of friendship with Sid Blumenthal, who used to work in the Clinton White House and then was working for the Clinton Foundation. 306 of the emails are between her and Sid Blumenthal. Mm-hmm. And he sent her copies of everything, memos he liked, articles he liked, advice on every country on the planet. I mean, kind of a bizarre kind of thing. You just wonder why she continued that relationship. She wanted to know what John Podesta was saying about his criticism of the Obama White House. She was really like into detail. The fun thing I find the funniest is the gefilte fish.
Yeah.
Right.
Where are we on this?
Where are we on this? She says. There was some congressman had promised to send 9 cases of gefilte fish from Illinois to Israel, and it got caught up in some kind of a trade dispute, and she was on this gefilte fish. Where are we on the gefilte?
Where are we on the gefilte fish?
Yeah, right. You would think she had bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, so to speak.
So to speak, right. I mean, I was just looking at all this stuff, and by the way, and she was close to her staff. She would talk to her staff about their family and about you getting enough time off and boom, 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 kind of thing. So it's this whole wide range of things. But if you're looking for, the smoking gun, if you're looking for the bombshell, it's not there. Nobody has found it so far. I think we just can conclude, again, this is not a scandal. This is not fatal. And there's much, much too much time spent analyzing and looking for stuff in these Hillary emails. I'm personally, and I've been really curious about it. That's why I wanted to spend so much time on it. Is there really something there? Is there really fire, or is this just all smoke? I think it's all smoke. I think it's nothing. And I think Republicans, if they really want a big issue against Hillary Clinton, had better find something else.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have like a hearing on Benghazi.
Yeah, the really important stuff.
Yeah, right. The Republicans and the media are trying to make this another Watergate scandal. I don't think it is. How about you? I really do not think it is. 866-55-PRESS. Charles has a comment from out in Joliet, Illinois. Hey, Charles.
Hey, good morning, you guys. First-time caller.
Hey, Charles. Hey, good. Thank you. Welcome.
I think this is all gobbledygook. This is nothing more than a ploy by the conservatives to smear the Clintons and smear Hillary because they are deathly afraid of her. And it's a shame that we have a segment of our society who are duped and are suckers to continue to believe these investigations after investigations after investigations and spending American taxpayer dollars to find nothing. That's my comment.
Well said. Well said. And, you know, Charles, I have to tell you, I've heard Hillary defenders, right, say, this is just one more phony scandal and everything. And I was a little leery of that because, I just want to be sure. Do my own research, do my own investigation of it. But I got to tell you, the closer I looked at this and the more I read about it, the more I'm convinced, like you said, Charles, this is Republican looking for something. And, we went through a lot of scandals during the Clinton years, most of which, again, turned out to be nothing. They even impeached the president over an unimpeachable offense, a non-impeachable offense. But remember the whole Whitewater scandal, right? That's how this whole thing started. There was nothing there. It was a bad investment. They invested in a bad piece of property. And for that, there are people who want to impeach him over that. Cheryl is out in Mount Pulaski, Illinois. Cheryl, what's your take?
Well, I agree with the previous caller, but I think we have to remember that she was still ambitious when she became the Secretary of State. So she had every intention of running. And
which makes it all the more curious why she made such a dumb mistake as to have her own email server.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think the problem that the Hillary campaign has, they are not hitting that classified material can be made classified after it has been sent. And it is not always classified for national security reasons.
Yes.
And it can be classified for any reason.
Yeah. That's an excellent point. Actually, there are 125. They originally said maybe 250. There are 125 of these emails that were this latest batch, Cheryl, I'm sure you know, that were not released because they were classified. But they were deemed classified after they were written, not at the time. At the time that Hillary was writing those, they were not classified material. So this is a complicated process. And I tell you, you're right about one thing, too. Another thing is that the Hillary Clinton campaign, I believe, has done a terrible job in responding to this and in just laying out the information. And they should have done that. She should have done it right on, said it was a mistake to do this, but here are the facts. Boom, 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 boom. Instead, it's been drip, drip, drip. And they got to get this behind them. But I really don't think there's anything there. I'd love to hear more from you and more calls on this. Because this is a big deal. The media is certainly making a huge deal of this. So do Republicans, of course. Is it a big deal? How should we handle it? How should she handle it? 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
When I started learning about nutrition, about which, by the way, much less is known than you might think, I learned that what mattered most about one's health was not necessarily the nutrients good or bad, that you were consuming or staying away from, or even the calorie counts. But what predicted a healthy diet more than anything else is the fact that it was being cooked by a human being and not a corporation. Corporations cook very differently than people do. They use vast amounts of salt, fat, and sugar, much more than you would ever use in your own cooking. And the reason they do that is those are three incredibly attractive and incredibly cheap ingredients. And when they're layered properly, as in a chip or pastries and forms of junk food, they're incredibly addictive. They really press our buttons. They activate our dopamine network, our cravings. And in fact, people in the industry, they don't talk about addiction in the food industry, even though they traffic in addiction. They talk about craveability. It's the same thing. And snackability is another term they use. It's a lovely word. And then the last point about corporate cooking that's important to understand is they cook different stuff than you do at home. What they're good at, in general, they don't cook that well, but things like chips, they cook incredibly well. And here's a classic food that if you make it yourself, if you've ever made French fries, you have to wash the potatoes, you have to peel the potatoes, you have to slice the potatoes, you have to fry them in a lot of oil, you have to spatter your entire stovetop, you have to clean up, and then you have this pot of oil you have to get rid of. I mean, it's really difficult, and it's a pain. They're wonderful, but it's a pain. And if you make them yourself, you'll only eat them every 6 weeks, 2 months, because it's too much work. But when you let corporations cook for you, it's so simple and so inexpensive, and they're really good, that you will have them twice a day, as many people in America do. So you see the kinds of foods you end up with are these labor-intensive foods and desserts. These special occasion foods become everyday foods when we let industry cook for us. Eat anything you want, just cook it yourself.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
The most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, 11 minutes before the top of the hour. Talking about the Hillary emails, I got to tell you, the other thing, I'm just, first of all, I get so many emails, and I erase so many of them. I don't think Hillary ever erased an email in her life after reading these.
By the way, you never really erase them. They're always there.
Well, I guess that's the other lesson. But, I mean, she spends so much time. Don't you have so much time to do so many emails and to watch all these TV shows?
Yeah.
She also watched this, what's this, a Borgen or some show like that, some Danish show, I think, or a Swedish show.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
I missed that
I mean,
one.
she was back and forth with the staff about all that kind of stuff. Again, you know, it's lots of like curious, funny, maybe odd, off the wall kind of stuff. But
Bill, where are we with the gefilte fish? That's
the big question.
The big question.
I don't know. The big question for me right now is: should we take this Hillary Clinton email scandal seriously? I was willing to if there was anything there, but the more I look at it, the more I'm convinced. It's like Gertrude Stein famously said of Oakland, California, there's no there. Joey, here's our buddy out in Chicago. What do you say, Joey?
As the great Oracle Mr. T once said, it's a bunch of jibber-jabber. the people who are making a big deal about this aren't going to vote for her anyway. There's nothing to it, and they have to move on to something else. They're blowing smoke, Bill. You're right on that one, buddy.
Hey, Joey, maybe they ought to move on to Benghazi, right?
Yeah, that'll be next month. Don't worry. That's coming.
All right, Joey. Good to hear from you. Jibber jabber. That's a good. I think that's a good word for it, right?
I think that might be the first time we had somebody quote Mr. T on this show. That's nice work.
Yeah, right. But again, I just wish Jerry Brown said on Meet the Press a week before last, where he said this email thing. He said she's just got to get rid of it. He said it's like a vampire. She's got to drive a stake through it, right, and kill it. That's what they've got to do. And whether she does it or somebody does it for her, just get out there and say, all right, look, enough is enough. Here's the deal, right? Mistake to set it up, yeah, but is there anything substantively wrong here? No. And we've seen that there's not if you take the time to read all these things. David is out in, is that Ontario, California? Or
Ontario, Canada.
Ontario, Canada.
Hey, all right.
All I see is hey, David, how are you? Welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. I've been enjoying you since CNN.
Oh, how about that? Yeah. Welcome to the International Bill Press Show.
Exactly. Bernie Sanders territory up here.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, he's close. What do you think?
Yeah, my opinion is that two things. WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, and all these groups, Anonymous, they're all hacking the government left and right. In a way, could it really hurt to kind of just, keep hers away from everybody else's? And the other point is Donald Trump has said it's a criminal problem, just letting you know. Like, I know you said it, but of course, do you really take what he says seriously?
No, I don't take what I didn't realize he had said it's a criminal problem. Of course, he'll say anything that comes to his mind, right, David?
Exactly.
By the way, a good portion of these emails, I didn't mention earlier, is a concern with the WikiLeaks release of those documents that came out under her tenure as Secretary of State.
Yeah.
When all these countries around the world found out from WikiLeaks what we really thought about them, right? Starting with Saudi Arabia. So she had a lot, that consumed a lot of her emailing time, by the way.
Yeah, they referenced some of the security issues and WikiLeaks, which was interesting to see it play out in the private email server.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, David, good to hear from you. Glad you're there every day with us. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, David.
From the Great White North.
From the Great White North, indeed, Ontario. I used to spend a lot of time over in Ontario when I was going to school at Niagara University.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Up there on the New York State frontier.
I get a chance to ask David about the Canadian Ballet.
Too bad.
Damn.
He's gone right now. All right.
Damn.
So we'll keep on top of the Hillary Clinton, email story, but just, I guess, don't believe what you read in the newspapers or what you hear on most TV and radio shows about it. I don't think there's anything there. We'll be right back.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
What gets you into college? Good SAT scores? High GPA? Lots of extracurriculars?
Sure, but what you really need is money.
If you don't have the cash, you'll need a loan.
And we mean huge student loans because the cost of college has risen 1,000% in the last 30 years.
This means big money for the banks that collect fees and interest.
Now, millions of young people are starting their adult lives with an average of $29,000 of loans on their backs.
Altogether, we're talking $1.2 trillion in student debt.
And more people are finding it impossible to pay them back. Welcome to the student debt crisis.
The increasing demand for higher education and cuts to state funding gave colleges a huge incentive to keep inflating prices.
I graduated about a year ago, currently in $35,000 of debt.
I am in debt about like $25,000.
I owe $23,000.
I owe over $50,000 in student loans.
38.8 million Americans owe money on a student loan.
And the biggest names in banking are making huge profits off the booming student loan industry. Sallie Mae, the largest provider of private student loans, made $949 million last year.
They only give you about 6 months to look for a job. You have to start paying back the loan. It's very pressuring, especially nowadays. It's very hard to find a job.
Over half of the students graduating in 2012 could not find a decent paying job.
They either had low-wage jobs or unpaid internships or were unemployed altogether.
So you can't make the payments. You start incurring late fees, which makes the loan even harder to pay off.
And it stays with you for years, even decades.
Right now, a third of the people who started repaying their loans are delinquent or in default.
That's 13.7 million people, more than the populations of Chicago, New York, and San Francisco combined.
Worse, it's not just the borrowers who are in trouble. Many loans require co-signers.
So if the student is unable to pay, that co-signer, a father, a mother, or a grandparent, is now on the hook.
Even a grandparent's Social Security benefits can be garnished to pay the loan.
We should have an answer to this. If you get really behind in your car payment or your credit cards, you can file for bankruptcy.
But Congress has made it nearly impossible to discharge student loans through bankruptcy.
Big institutions make big profits while students try to make ends meet under crushing debt.
Is this how we want our education system to work?
The whole point of going to college is to get the career you want, but lately that's been discouraged because no one can afford school. You get a job just to pay off your student loans.
We need higher education, not higher debt.
Sign up to end the student debt crisis at higherednotdebt.org.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go. Laura Barron-Lopez from Huffington Post joins us at the top of the next hour, and then Travis Waldron will be along as well. Peter?
Here comes Stephen Colbert. He's going to launch next week, and we know that one of his first guests is going to be Jeb Bush, but we also found out some very other interesting political guests he's going to have in his second week, including Joe Biden. Joe Biden will be joining Stephen Colbert on the second week, as will Bernie Sanders, Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer, and UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon.
Oh, man.
All going to be on the new Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
Yeah. You know what? I'm waiting for the Pope. The Pope will be there, too. I mean, you know.
Why not?
He's lining them all up, right?
Yeah, he'll be in New York.
And speaking of outstanding guests, Governor Martin O'Malley, Democratic candidate for president, joins us in our third hour together today on the Bill Press Show. How about it?
This is the Bill Press Show.
I'm a Piston fan. Their slogan was, "We come to work." That's what Detroit about. That's why they used it. It's a team thing. They won 2 championships, a team. There was no star. No mayor can come in here and be a star. It's a team thing. No governors can come in here and think you can do it by yourself. It's a team thing. You got communities. They got ideas, too. The only thing wrong with Detroit, people have lost hope here. Residents, city workers, so much corruption. They lose hope. But I grew up here. I love this city. I think it can come back. I've been working for the city 24 and a half years. Within the last 10 years, we took 4 pay cuts, and then an additional 10% wage cut. I've lost a home.
When you take all of the decisions out of the city of Detroit, all of us, then what do you have? Exactly what we got. A lot of problems. Every time the city seems to fall into a problem, it's always on the backs of us workers.
You wake up out of a dead sleep and you jump behind the wheel and take off driving and try to get everybody there safe, not knowing really what you're pulling up to. I'm not eligible for Social Security, so the pension is my sole salary at this point.
We've been in business here 39 years. We've seen a lot of changes in Detroit. The area was a lot of industry, a lot of city workers. It's getting very tough for the city workers. It's getting tough for us as a business people.
Response times are increasing because of the closing of companies, which takes your insurance rate through the roof. So all the things that affect us affect the citizens.
I worked for the city in different capacities for 29 years. I feel like an old jacket. They use me up and they throw me away. In my condition, nobody's gonna hire me. I'm 68 years old. Half the times, I can't get my blood pressure medicine. It's either feeding myself, blood pressure, or paying bills.
$754. By the time they take all the deductions for I have my car insurance, my house insurance, and my health insurance taken out. So the time they take all that, I'll get about $300 after they take all that out. I don't understand it. I can't see how the governor is allowing this to happen and what they're doing and they want to blame it all on the seniors. Not only the seniors, but the city workers. And we worked hard. I know I worked hard.
I've been in Detroit since 1946. I was 14 years old when I came in. I don't live large at all. I wish I could. I don't know when the last time I've been shopping. I only get $1,100, and I'm 81 years old, and I need every penny that I can get and that I do get. And I'm very, very upset about the idea of them taking away my pensions that I worked 30 years for.
I think it's terrible that they talk about Detroit like they do, because Detroit has been very good to me.
I have a lot of city workers coming in with their uniforms on, Detroit Water Department, Police Department, Fire Department. I get a lot of people, the Border Patrol come in. So if I lose that customer base, I'm going to be in a position where I might have to close down. If they take away their pensions, if they start cutting jobs, it's going to cut into a large percentage of not only our business, but other businesses that are in the city of Detroit. We're here. We've been here for 26 years. We're still trying to do business in the city.
Detroiters are survivors. They tough. They adapt. But only can do so much when your politicians are ahead of you and we're not on the same team. We're not going to let Detroit be erased, bulldozed, or whatever. We're going to fight to the bitter end. Detroit going to survive.
Just this month, my bill was like $138.
Even at one phone call a week cost me $40 to $50 every month.
I am living on a fixed income of SSI, so this is really a great hardship. Families are being punished. When they incarcerate their children, they incarcerate the whole family.
In 2011, the Media Action Grassroots Network, Working Narratives, and Prison Legal News founded the Campaign for Prison Phone Justice, an effort to call on the FCC to address the cost of interstate phone calls. The campaign mobilized prisoners to send hundreds of letters. Advocates and families filled out postcards, met with elected officials, and signed petitions. Partnerships were formed across the political spectrum and with groups in the criminal justice, civil rights, and public interest community. The film distribution company Participant Media and director Ava DuVernay joined the fight through a social action campaign tied to the release of the feature film Middle of Nowhere. In an effort to push the FCC to act, the campaign hosted a historic rally outside of the Federal Communications Commission where for the first time, families of prisoners, elected officials, civil rights and faith leaders came together to call for an end to predatory phone rates.
We're all held captive when predatory phone companies gouge our families.
My son has been incarcerated now for over 10 years, and my husband estimates that in the time we spent over $25,000 on prison phone calls.
My hero's not yours, you probably arrested them. Your schools probably neglected them. They spawn thoughts, you probably infected them. Feed us what you feed us, you can lay us next to them. FBI call it major crimes. Babies making babies cry.
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
2 new votes for President Obama and the Iran nuclear deal. He's getting closer to what he needs to get Senate approval. Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday, September 2nd. So good to see you today. Welcome to the program, The Bill Press Show. We're with you coast to coast, all across this great land of ours, on your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, and worldwide on our video stream, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Good to have you with us today. Thank you for joining us. And if you really want into the spirit of things, just jump into the conversation. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show, on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Keep the conversation going with our team, Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson leading it up. Hello, guys.
Hey, hey.
Good morning.
Yes, indeed.
Happy Wednesday.
We want your calls at 866-55-PRESS, and Ray Rogers is standing by to field those calls and get you on the air with Cyprian Bolding, keeping the lights and the cameras going for Free Speech TV, and worldwide our video stream, TawkrTV. And it's good to welcome back to the studio, good friend, covering the Congress for Huffington Post, Laura Barron-Lopez. Hey, Laura, nice to see you.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I mean, you've had a good summer, I hope? Huh?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's not a good summer if you're stuck in D.C.
No,
though.
that's true. Luckily, I got out for a bit.
Oh, yeah? All right.
Yes.
And
got some sun, got a little tan.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
There you go. When does the Senate come back?
After Labor Day. So
They don't want to rush.
September.
They don't want to rush
8th
into
or
anything
so?
after being off for, 6 weeks.
6 weeks, right.
It's a pretty long recess. Yeah. It'll be
Okay.
interesting when they get back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, indeed. Well, so everybody else is taking the chance to get out of town, including President Obama, who went all the way to Alaska to talk about climate change. He'd been there for refueling stops, but never a chance to really see the state and see that beautiful country. Yesterday, having talked about the first day he arrived, having appeared at that climate change conference, he went out to see the living proof of changes due to global warming, walking up this exit glacier to, well, at least where the glacier used to be.
Yeah, it's receding.
And the president says this is the evidence that we need to see.
The pace of the reductions of the glacier are accelerating rapidly each and every year. And this is as good of a signpost of what we're dealing with when it comes to climate change as just about anything.
And I think that's true anywhere on the planet. The glaciers in Europe, I mean in France, in the Alps, wherever, and in Alaska. I don't know how anybody can see that and then deny what's going on. But there are those who do. But I thought it was very important for the president to show that kind of graphic display of climate change. This is what it's all about. Yeah, they were it's like 2 miles, I think, from where the glacier used to be to where it is today.
Yeah, the ice is just rapidly receding everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it. You can actually see it disappearing. President Obama there, and he comes back at the White House later today. Governor Martin O'Malley, our guest, a little bit late in the next hour here of the Bill Press Show today, Democratic candidate for president who has challenged the DNC to change the rules regarding Democratic debates. Laura's here for this first half hour, then we'll be joined by Travis Waldron in this hour, and Ray Locker from USA Today joins us in the next hour as well. He'll be here with me and Governor O'Malley. But first, Peter.
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news, but can she have it all? Marissa Mayer is expecting twins. The Yahoo CEO and former Google executive announced yesterday in a Tumblr post that she is pregnant with twins and she's going to work throughout her pregnancy and is going to take very limited time off. That is what she says, to quote from her blog post or her Tumblr post. Quote, since my pregnancy has been healthy and uncomplicated, and since this is a unique time in Yahoo's transformation, I plan to approach the pregnancy and delivery as I did with my son 3 years ago, taking limited time away and working throughout.
But aren't these internet firms supposed to be giving a year off now to have a...
That's what a lot of them are doing.
Right.
That's the trend, is more time off to have.
Yeah.
And she's taking less time off. So, I mean, she's making the decision.
Right.
Good for
I guess
her,
it's her
I
choice,
guess.
right?
But boy,
Yeah.
oh boy. That's intense. Big story out of California that we found out yesterday. A new settlement will mean that there is no longer solitary confinement in prisons in California.
Oh, wow.
You've heard this story. I mean, if you misbehave or there's misconduct, you go to solitary confinement. And there was a lawsuit brought a couple of years ago on behalf of thousands of inmates who said that at the Pelican Bay State Prison, there were members of the prison community there that had been kept in solitary confinement for as long as 10 years.
Oh, my God.
10 years they've been in there. So they took them to court, and they won. And they said that, no, you can't keep them that isolated for that long. And in fact, they shut the whole system down. No more solitary confinement in the state of California.
That's amazing.
Isn't that huge?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
So they're trying to find out what it would be instead of solitary confinement, because there is extra bad prison punishment, I guess, right? So you have
you have to separate them sometimes.
Yeah. So that's the next step.
All these good ideas, they start in California, and then they just spread across the country. So watch out.
That's right. And scandal among the Muppets, Bill. Yesterday,
No.
Kermit the Frog. Did you see this?
I saw this.
Kermit the Frog put out a statement on Twitter that he and Miss Piggy are no longer a couple. They're no longer an item. He
put that out a while ago.
Yeah, he shut that down, right? Shut that down. But there's a new woman in Kermit's life.
And a younger one.
A younger woman, still a pig.
Yes.
Her name is Denise. And so people look at Bill.
Oh, I can't believe this is so,
Right? Scandalous, right? But it's weird. So this new pig named Denise replaces Miss Piggy, a younger, newer model of pig girlfriend. This all is going around the Muppets TV show, which is going to be launching on ABC this fall. So it's all promotion for that. But we're going to see it.
I think this is sad.
I know,
for Miss
right?
Piggy. Yeah.
One of the great love stories of our time.
I know, right.
Miss Piggy cast aside.
She'll find someone.
She will. She better find someone.
Well, I can't wait to see what Hillary Clinton says about this in her emails.
That's right. It's going to be in there.
That's true. Everything's in those emails.
Everything's in those emails, so I'm sure this is in there too. Right. All right. That's sad.
Love is dead.
We'll have to find her somebody. Huh?
Love is dead. Yeah.
Yeah, send her some flowers.
Right.
That creep Gonzo. She can't hook up with that creep Gonzo.
No.
He's bad news.
No.
All right, so Laura, there has been a lot going on behind the scenes, shall we say, maybe, while the Senate is out of town.
Yeah.
And the White House has certainly not relaxed its efforts to build support for the Iran nuclear deal in the Senate, with that vote coming as early as next week.
That's right.
Correct? Right.
Yeah.
And the president has been trying to line up enough Senate Democrats to make sure that the Republicans cannot succeed with their resolution of disapproval. Yesterday, big news on that front.
That's right. So 2 senators, Senator Bob Casey of Pennsylvania, Senator Chris Coons of Delaware, said that they were going to support the deal and make sure that no matter what they even vote to make sure they sustain a veto, because it's likely that the resolution of disapproval will pass, go to Obama will veto it. And so this magic number, which is 34, yesterday, Obama got to 33 Senate Democrats. So he only needs one more to make sure that his veto is sustained in the Senate.
How many votes for a resolution of disapproval? Do Republicans only need 51 votes?
Yes, they only need a simple majority, I want to say.
Okay,
so,
right. So the 34 is to make it veto-proof, right?
Yeah, that's not exactly the correct terminology, but it's basically to make it so when Obama vetoes it, that veto stands.
That veto stands.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right. And now they're at 33, right?
Yes, 33.
And 2 Democrats only have come out against the deal.
Yes, Chuck Schumer of New York and Bob Menendez of New Jersey.
All right, so I lose track of the arithmetic on how many Democrats there are.
There should be about 11 left that are undecided.
That was my question. So. 11 undecided,
Mm-hmm.
who include, I know, Ben Cardin from Maryland.
That's correct.
Right. Who are the other main ones who are...
Well, there's also Senator Manchin of West Virginia, who's supposed to have a town hall on the Iran deal this Thursday. So that could be an opportunity where he decides, after talking to some more constituents, that he's going to make his decision. People do expect him to support it. There's also Barbara Mikulski as well.
Okay. But we saw recently that Chris Coons and Bob Casey yesterday, but they follow Harry Reid a couple of weeks ago, Debbie Stabenow from Michigan, Claire Mikulski from, Claire McCaskill from Missouri, and Joe Donnelly from Indiana.
That's great.
So I mean, they're building a lot of support. With one vote to go, they're going to get that one.
Everyone expects them to. It doesn't seem far off.
Who's it going to be? It'll be more than, probably they'll have more than 34.
Yeah, I think that they will have more than 34. People are expecting Manchin. Cardin, it's hard to tell. Yesterday he had a speech, one of the universities, and he really didn't show his hand at all in which way he could swing, just basically saying that it's one of the most difficult decisions that he has had to make. Everyone's said that. Coons said it was a very hard choice. Casey, the hardest decision I've ever made in the Senate. So
Casey put out a 17-page memo.
A ton of footnotes.
Yeah, detailing how he made the decision, why he made the decision, and what it was all about. And Chris Coons yesterday at the University of Delaware spoke about how much effort he had put into it. He read the entire thing itself. He had countless meetings. Right. Had a long session with Vice President Joe Biden, also from Delaware, of course. Chris Coons saying yesterday that he wasn't entirely happy with this deal.
Frankly, this is not the agreement that I had hoped for. I am troubled that the parties to this deal, particularly Iran, have differing interpretations of key terms. And I remain deeply concerned about our ability to hold Iran to the terms of this agreement as we understand them.
But Chris Coons, just completing the thought, did say the problem is, what's the alternative?
I will support this agreement because it puts us on a known path of limiting Iran's nuclear program for the next 15 years with the full support of the international community. The alternative to me is a scenario of uncertainty and likely isolation.
Yeah. And I think that's been, I was at the news conference at the White House when President Obama first talked about this. Maybe the strongest argument in supporters of the deal is, if you don't like this, what's your alternative?
That's right. And Kuhn said that maybe his aha moment, if he had to pinpoint it, was when he was talking to the ambassadors from the other countries, the rest of the P5, and he said that seeing how dedicated and committed they were to this and how much they supported it was really, in a way, the turning point for him, where he said, okay, I think that this is something that I can get behind. And as you said, being able to talk to Biden, he said, who offered him guidance and who really walked him through a lot of things, sending that letter to Obama and then getting answers back to all the questions he had about making sure about Israel's security, that really helped push him towards a yes.
Right. It's interesting to me that Chuck Schumer, who is on a path to become the next Democratic leader of the Senate, came out against the president, which I was surprised to see, and I don't think was a smart move on his part. But at any rate, so if he's going to be the new leader of the Democrats, so far he hasn't gotten anybody to support him. I mean, Bob Menendez was already, the other Democrat was already against it. He was against it before we even knew what was in the deal.
I think people were, at least on our end, I mean, I was kind of expecting Schumer to come out against it, just given his constituency and how it was clear that it seemed that he was going to split with Democrats on this, or the majority of Democrats. But, I mean, it does create this interesting dynamic because he's the only one of leadership who has decided to
and is convinced so far nobody to follow him.
That's true.
So
I'm not sure he's actively lobbying everyone, though.
It just, to me, it doesn't speak well for his leadership abilities. It's also surprising to me that AIPAC, which is such a powerful lobby in this town, it has been for a long time, and they have put on all the juice, man. They have been running ads and everything, and making calls and threatening almost members of Congress, and yet AIPAC has faltered here too. I mean, it looks like they're going to lose this battle.
That's right. I think so too. And then it's interesting because then on the other side, MoveOn.org has put out, you have to be for peace and not for war. And they have the Schumer-mobile going around New York with Schumer's face plastered to the side of it, as well as Bob Menendez saying, these senators are for war. So there's, on both sides, I think, a lot of pressure. Blumenthal is another undecided that's feeling, from Connecticut, a lot of pressure.
The Hill reports this morning that he may be the key vote in terms of...
putting it over the edge? Or
that if he comes out for it, that'll really be maybe the most significant of all, given, again, his constituents, his... and he's one of the most progressive, most liberal members of the Senate as well.
Yes.
Right. But, of course, Blumenthal faces the threat that Larry Kudlow says he might run against him if Blumenthal votes for the deal. Yeah, he doesn't have to worry about Larry Kudlow. So it looks like we will have a deal and at least be able to thwart the Senate from undercutting and opposing the president's, or coming out against the president's Iran nuclear deal. Good news, 866-55-PRESS. What's your senator say about this, and what kind of pressure you put on it? Let's talk about Laura Barron-Lopez.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
When I started learning about nutrition, about which, by the way, much less is known than you might think, I learned that what mattered most about one's health was not necessarily the nutrients, good or bad, that you were consuming or staying away from, or even the calorie counts. But what predicted a healthy diet more than anything else is the fact that it was being cooked by a human being and not a corporation. Corporations cook very differently than people do. They use vast amounts of salt, fat, and sugar, much more than you would ever use in your own cooking. And the reason they do that is those are three incredibly attractive and incredibly cheap ingredients. And when they're layered properly, as in a chip or pastries and forms of junk food, they're incredibly addictive. They really press our buttons. They activate our dopamine network, our cravings. And in fact, people in the industry, they don't talk about addiction in the food industry, even though they traffic in addiction. They talk about craveability. It's the same thing. And snackability is another term they use. It's a lovely word. And then the last point about corporate cooking that's important to understand is they cook different stuff than you do at home. What they're good at, in general, they don't cook that well, but things like chips, they cook incredibly well. And here's a classic food that if you make it yourself, if you've ever made French fries, you have to wash the potatoes, you have to peel the potatoes, you have to slice the potatoes, you have to fry them in a lot of oil, you have to spatter your entire stovetop, you have to clean up, and then you have this pot of oil you have to get rid of. I mean, it's really difficult, and it's a pain. They're wonderful, but it's a pain. And if you make them yourself, you'll only eat them every 6 weeks, 2 months, because it's too much work. But when you let corporations cook for you, it's so simple and so inexpensive, and they're really good, that you will have them twice a day, as many people in America do. So you see the kinds of foods you end up with are these labor-intensive foods and desserts. These special occasion foods become everyday foods when we let industry cook for us. Eat anything you want, just cook it yourself.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
27 minutes after the hour, back to the sports world with Travis Waldron from Huffington Post. When we come back here after the half hour, Liz. Oh boy, okay. We're talking about Liz Cheney. Laura Barron-Lopez here in the studio with us. Laura, we just have about a minute left, but I do have to ask you, are we going to see a government shutdown?
Oh, that is going to be the biggest challenge, to quote Majority Leader McConnell, when they come back from recess. I think that they are going to work it out, but it could get down to the wire.
Yeah, and is that vote next week as well?
It's going to be pretty early, or no, actually it's not next week. But he does want to tackle it, I think, as soon as possible, or at least start the negotiations, which Democrats have been calling for since before recess. But the main dividing line is that they want to get rid of sequestration caps. Republicans only want to lift the caps for defense.
Right, and so this is a big challenge for McConnell, who has said there will be no government shutdown. Right?
Exactly, he said it's not going to happen on his watch.
Right, so
he's not going to allow Planned Parenthood to get mixed up in it. Also admitted that they don't have to vote. So.
Right. So McConnell versus Ted Cruz. We'll see who wins there.
This
Thanks, Laura.
is the Bill Press Show.
Officer, were you the one who arrested me? Gonna shake my hand? So I got invited to host a vigil called Carry the Names. And that's what they were doing, carrying the names of the people who were victims of deadly police force. Michael Brown, Eric Garner, Akai Gurley. I got a motion from Dragonfly from Stop Shopping Choir. And I started preaching. I preached up a storm as best I could, but about a minute and a half into my sermon, the place was flooded with police, Homeland Security, National Guard, state troopers, and I was pushed over and handcuffed so fast, down in the jail, down in the basement. Before you know it, I was out the door, put in prison overnight. The next morning, I'm in court. The same thing happens. I'm just rushed out of there. Then our lawyer, Wiley Steckler, gives me this iPhone. And there, in black and white, in the Gothamist, a popular paper, is this charge by Adam Lisberg, the MTA law enforcement spokesperson for this grand place. His quote is that I, Reverend Billy, physically attacked a police officer. Unbelievable. The feeling of being robbed of my work and life and identity, just the fiction. I did not touch anybody. I did not look. I know how to do this. I'm trained in nonviolence. I did not do anything. It was right here. It was right here. It happened right here. I was simply arrested while I was speaking and taken away, and that's it. The cold feeling in my city, the city that I love, that city spokespersons whose salary I pay for with my taxes, that they would say this. I can just feel the rending apart of the community, that we are not that close. We're not. They are willing to say this, and they think that they can just say anything about anybody and get away with it. So we have something in the Church of Stop Shopping called radical forgiveness. Amen? I forgive the police. We gotta love them too. Cops and bankers love their mothers, but I'll stay radical. Mothers love their brothers. We gotta love them too. But we'll wake up every morning forgiving each other, reaching out, touching, telling stories, having humor, being in a community together, sharing our children, sharing the streets, sharing the climate, being in the city together. But forgiving each other, being grateful to each other, helping each other out, living together, living together. I got a daughter just turned 4. What do we do in the superstore? What do we do with the blood and the gore? The water's rising through our door. Love our children too. Love our children too. Amen. Earth-alleluia.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
You got it. 33 minutes after the hour, the Bill Press Show. Wednesday, September 2nd. You'll find us here in Washington, D.C., our studio on Capitol Hill, just down the street from the United States Capitol building. And we're brought to you today by the Laborers International Union of North America. Man, you want to see the laborers at work? Just look right across the street from this studio, man. They are building a whole new city, it seems, right across the street here. The Laborers Union well represented there under President Terry O'Sullivan. They're everywhere in this country building a better America, and that's their website, LIUNA, liunabuildsamerica.org. I'm telling you, baseball in the heat of it right now, and football starting up soon. Good day to talk to our good friend Travis Waldron, sports reporter for the Huffington Post, in studio with us again today. Hello, Travis.
How are you, sir?
What's going on?
Oh, nothing. Just sports.
I know they're
all
not
the
your
sports.
I know they're not your favorite team, but what's wrong with the Nats?
They're struggling. A lot of it is pitching, which was supposed to be a strong suit,
right?
And specifically the bullpen, which was not supposed to be a strong suit, and has been even worse than a lot of people expected.
Terrible.
And, you know, Matt Williams, the manager, has been coming into it the last few days, so there's a lot of people angry, and rightfully so.
Yeah, they should be angry.
Rightfully so. They've had a lot of injuries.
Right.
You know, they
started the season. They had a lot of injuries.
They've had a lot of injuries all throughout the season, but you know they were the best team in the NL East, and there is not really an excuse for the way they've played.
You know, it's like they're losing games. Like last night was 8-5.
Mm-hmm.
They're losing games 7-6.
The last two nights they were ahead,
and they've blown leads. And a lot of that is Matt Williams is mismanaging the bullpen.
Yeah, they're putting runs up. The bats are working.
Yeah, and for how big of an advantage their pitching staff was supposed to be, for it to not be has been shocking. You obviously can't write anyone off until the end of the season, but I'd be really shocked at this point if they rebound.
Oof.
They're.
So you don't think they make the playoffs?
I don't. And part of that is because they're far behind in the wild card race, so they have to win the division. The Mets are hot, and the Mets are.
Yeah.
I mean, this wasn't just a hot streak for the Mets. They're a good team.
Yeah.
And you talk about pitching. You know, if the Mets can keep hitting, they're going to be tough to catch. And at this point, the Nats have to play so well to catch them. And, you know, the bats have, like you said, the bats have been working. Bryce has been hitting all year.
Oh, yeah.
Now they have
Yeah.
Zimmerman and Worth back. They're both hitting well, but, you know, the pitching's got to come through, and it hasn't. So the lucky thing for them is they have 6 more against the Mets.
Yeah.
And at this point,
well,
they,
lucky or not
well, I mean,
lucky,
it gives
right.
them a chance to make it up
Yeah,
quick. But at this
okay.
point, they can't really afford to drop any of those, and
Right.
they can't.
Yeah.
They got to stop losing. I mean, as simple as that sounds, it's, you know, that last night the Mets lose, and they can't take advantage of it and pick up a game. And at this point in the season, you know, you got to bear down, and when you have a lead going into the 6th, 7th inning, 2 nights in a row,
Yep.
you can't lose both of those games.
Right. Now, the big news in the Washington sports world, of course, is RG3.
At least we have football, right? If
Right.
our baseball team's not delivering, at least our football team.
Maryland has football.
Yeah. Right.
So RG3 sidelined. Surprise? Is it just it hasn't come back from that injury, or just can't cut it?
You know, I'm not surprised. I don't think. This has been an ongoing saga.
How much money are they paying this guy? He was
I don't know what his number is this year. I think his cap number this year is something like $6 million, and they have an option on him next year for 16. So it's, you know, they need to try to ship him out before next year if he's not going to play. I think he's done in D.C.
Yeah.
They say he's a member of the team. Obviously, he is right now. They say, you know, going forward, he's still going to be. I don't see that. I think he needs a change of scenery. I think they need to move on from this. You know, it's a sad story. The way he came on his rookie year, he kind of lit this town on fire, and for it to end like this, and some of it is
And
a lot
so
of it is
soon.
the franchise is doing. I mean,
That's what I want to ask you about. Is like, how much of this is him under delivering, and how much of this is the football team treating him?
Look, they
poorly
ran
as
him
they have?
out onto the field in the playoffs in his rookie year with a bum knee.
Yeah.
And they left him out there with a bum knee.
Yeah.
And he collapsed. And, you know, I think, like, you have to protect a guy. in
He was
that
never the same
situation.
after
He hasn't been the same since. He came back and dislocated the ankle. He might have come back too fast for his second season. You know, I don't know all the inside story. I know there's a lot of complaining about RG3 in the locker room. You know, Jay Gruden, the head coach, apparently doesn't like him.
Right.
But, you know, you never know who leaks what and how that gets out. But, you know, I think it's best at this point for both sides to move on. And I would like to think that RG3 can start over somewhere else. I just finished a piece this week on quarterback busts, and it doesn't look good. A lot of the guys who kind of wash out this way don't rebound.
They don't come back.
You know, and it's fascinating. We looked at the quarterback bust since 1999 and how many Washington is responsible for. As a share. You know, we found that Washington, Cleveland, and Jacksonville together make up almost a third of the guys that you could consider busts.
Of course.
And, you know, I mean, we're going now. They've spent first-round picks on Patrick Ramsey, Jason Campbell, and RG3, and have one playoff appearance from RG3 to show for it, and then immediately flush that down the drain. And I think, so to your point of how much of this is RG3 not living up, some of it.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're talking about a franchise that's now started 16 quarterbacks in 15 years and had 8 head coaches in 15 years. Like, that's a franchise problem.
I would love nothing more than to see him go to another team and just light it up.
I think he'll get a chance as a backup somewhere.
Yeah.
Whether or not he'll ever be a number one quarterback again, I think is I would bet no.
So, speaking of number one quarterbacks, is Brady going to beat the rap?
We'll see this week. Is
What do you think?
what they say?
What's your gut?
My gut is that he doesn't. I don't think he's going to serve 4 games, which is the original suspension. I would be really shocked. I think if you followed the case, which I haven't followed it super closely because this is annoying, and I'm ready for it to go away.
Amen.
Look at the Patriots fan in there.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, I think with every development, it seemed like people have come closer around to Tom Brady's side, and a lot of the legal analysts and a lot of the people that have followed this every step of the way have mercy on them, is they seem to be coming around to the position that he's got a better chance of beating it altogether than serving 4-game suspension. I don't.
It looks that way. I mean, I think this thing has really turned around.
It has. I mean, I think that the major story of Deflategate is how ridiculous it is, and how the NFL has turned what should have been a cut and dry, fairly easy thing to deal with into an 8-month ordeal, and it's remarkable. It's just the level of incompetence in handling these sort of situations is remarkable. I mean, not to compare it really to Ray Rice or Greg Hardy or anything far more serious, but they've those turned into labor fights, those turned into ordeals, and now this is, and it's like, at what point, this should have been for Roger Goodell an easy way to like drop the hammer, look powerful, clean, easy, and it's turned into this. And I think it's just stunning, and I would not be shocked if Brady beats it all together. I also wouldn't be shocked if he has to serve 1 game, 2 games. But I think if that's the case, if he still gets suspended at all, we're going to appeals, and it's going to take a long time to sort out.
It's up to this judge, right? It's just
Judge Berman in New York
makes the decision.
Yes, and typically I think is a little bit more friendly to the NFL in these cases than some of the other ones that they can go to. But he has some tough questions of the league, and Tom Brady has Jeffrey Kessler argue in this case, who is probably one of the he's the most prominent sports labor attorney in the country. And, this is the guy who's leading the fight against the NCAA for players. He's represented the players union and helped bring free agency to the NFL and to basketball. Like he's got himself a team.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting case. And the fact that, everything in the NFL can turn into a disaster for them. And of course they'll withstand it. Everybody's going to still watch football. And hell, this probably helps.
But
that's the thing too, does it really benefit the NFL to have Tom Brady out for 4 games?
Right.
Like, think if Tom Brady beats this rap, how many people are going to tune into that first New England game?
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
Bill, Peter, and I will watch it together. I'm getting Bill a Brady jersey.
Yeah.
All right. Lots more in the sports world to talk about with Travis Waldron when we come back. We haven't mentioned American Pharaoh yet. Talk about it. Oh, man.
Bummer.
I know about it. We got lots more to go here. Huffington Post, Travis Waldron here. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. All you sports fans, we'll be right back.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is why you took a second job. While you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. While you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
The most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
13 minutes now before the top of the hour with Governor Martin O'Malley joining us in the next hour here of the Bill Press Show. Making news today, talking about national service, and also making news over the weekend, challenging the Democratic National Committee to change its rules on Democratic debates in the 2016 contest. Right now we're talking sports with Travis Waldron from Huffington Post. Is Serena Williams like a human being?
No,
or
she's
a
unstoppable.
machine?
She's unstoppable.
Unbelievable.
She is the greatest woman athlete I've ever seen. Great, maybe one of the greatest athletes, period, I've ever seen.
She's
but in
flat
terms
out
of
the greatest
individual-
female athlete of all time, right? Like, especially if she wins this.
Probably. I mean, certainly one of the most dominant. I mean, she's just unstoppable, and I think it's fascinating how she's doing this, and I love her. I love watching her.
Yeah,
and
it's just incredible.
She gets so much stink from people in different ways and different, about her body and about everything else, and she just shrugs it off and goes out and does her thing
And wins.
And
she just goes and wins.
And she's an awesome athlete. She's just so fun to watch.
So the only one who could beat her maybe is her sister. Is that it?
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, she could lose.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's anyone where you could say she can beat her.
Right.
Like where you'd go in and say Serena is not an overwhelming favorite, especially with Sharapova out. And even Sharapova, she's beat Sharapova something like 17 straight times. Now she's, Sloane Stephens, who beat her at the Australian Open a few years ago, is out now. I don't know who beats her.
Well, so there is an age factor at some point here,
You'd
right?
think so.
So she's what, in mid-30s? Is that?
I think so, early 30s.
Yeah.
She's hadn't come up yet.
Yeah.
She's just rolling through everything. And, I want to see her win the Grand Slam. It's sort of, you brought up American Pharoah right before we went to the break. And, I wanted to see the Triple Crown. And back when Tiger was at the top of his game, like to see him win 4 majors in a row. Or when Jordan Spieth was doing it when he won the first 2 this year in golf. And now, you get a chance to see something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And, I want it. And I want to watch it. And especially for it to be someone like Serena, who is so awesome and handles herself so well and has gotten so much criticism for different things at different points for just being her. And, it'd be fascinating to watch. And, I think it would, I hope it would finally bring the people who want to be critics of her around. I don't know that it would, but.
So it's this weekend, is that?
The final won't be until next weekend.
Oh, next week. Okay.
Yeah, she's in the second round. Second round matches today, I think. But she's, again, I would imagine she'll be there next weekend. The final already sold. The women's final sold out before the men's because everybody wants to see Serena, which is awesome.
I love that.
You talk about a summer where this has been a summer of women athletes, and with the World Cup and everything else, and now Serena is just
crushing,
keeping it going. Yeah, it's awesome.
That's fantastic. Now, what is with the news about the movie Concussion? I know you've been writing about that too.
Yeah, so Will Smith is doing a movie taking on the NFL essentially, and
but they changed. I haven't read. I just saw the headline that they changed the movie because of some of the complaints of the NFL.
I think so. I read the quotes. The New York Times did a thing. They went through the Sony emails, and they said they didn't necessarily, I think, like change anything dramatically. They made some things to protect themselves, both legally and because they didn't want to over dramatize it. They wanted it to kind of stand on its own. But I think it'll be a fascinating movie because it looks good, which sports movies and typically sports movies that take on major issues in sports tend to be over dramatized and not very good.
The trailer looks fantastic.
The trailer looks awesome. The story is Dr. Bennett Amalu is who Will Smith plays. He's I think Nigerian doctor who discovered CTE, which is the brain disease that now has, kind of taken over the league. And kind of taken over the consciousness of concussions in the sport. And Bennett Amalu thought the NFL would embrace him for finding this, for saying, look, your sport is driving people mad. And they took the opposite tack, which we found out in the book and the documentary League of Denial.
So it's a true story, is it?
Yes. So, and it looks awesome, and it'll be interesting to see how the NFL reacts. Again,
I can't wait to see how they handle it.
They issued a statement this week that, they said they welcome any discussion about player safety and all of that. It's the NFL. It's not going to have a great ending. I mean, they basically crushed this guy.
Yeah.
And they've systematically crushed a lot of people trying to work on this topic, and it keeps growing. But no one's turning away from the sport.
Right.
But this Hollywood movie isn't going to make them turn away from the sport. But it is interesting, and it has a chance to reach more people than League of Denial did.
I was going to say, this is the most high profile.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I'm not saying it's going to drive like some massive change in football or in the way people view football. But I think the fact that Hollywood is willing to take on the NFL, almost like it's big tobacco or like it's something else, is fascinating.
But this is a major studio feature-length film, not a documentary.
With one of the biggest actors in Hollywood.
With one of the biggest actors there is,
right?
Yeah.
It's going to have wide distribution, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
And it's coming out on Christmas. I mean, they're going for the fences.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I thought to myself, I got to go see this Will Smith movie. I'm definitely going to go see this Will Smith movie. It looks really good.
It does look awesome. I was surprised. I was kind of skeptical. And when I watched the trailer, I was like, "Oh man, this!"
Yeah, they nailed it.
This looks like it's actually going to be a good movie.
And now we'll see if it has any, as you question whether it'll have any impact or not. That's a big thing.
It's kind of a drip, with Chris Borland, the 49ers playing retiring, and all the concussion news that has come, and now you add this to it. It's something that I think eventually we're going to have to reckon with.
Yeah,
and the NFL is going to have to reckon with.
All right. Hey. Good. Covered lots of ground here, Travis. Thank you so much for coming in again. All right. And a happy end of summer. Here we go.
You too.
2nd of September. President Obama, one more day in Alaska. We'll tell you all about it coming up.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, here we go. Hour number 3 coming up, and very, very excited for big hour number 3 today. He's been making a lot of news lately, and he joins us for the 3rd hour. Governor Martin O'Malley, Democratic candidate for president, former governor of Maryland, who insists the Democratic Party is being unfair to him and to Bernie Sanders and to Link Chafee and to Jim Webb. They have rigged the debate rules in favor of Hillary Clinton. He's demanding a change. He'll tell us why in our 3rd hour on Free Speech TV and on TawkrTV. Don't miss it.
A few years ago, plastic bag waste in our city came to a tipping point. It was clear we had a bag problem. My department was tasked to reduce plastic bag consumption. We needed to come up with ways to change human behavior. So we asked ourselves,
should I get back?
What do people really hate?
Yep.
Getting punched in the stomach. Preliminary studies showed that the consequences weren't severe enough to warrant behavioral change.
Actually, can I get that double bagged?
So we thought, what do people hate more than getting punched in the stomach? Kissing Helga.
Hey, big boy.
People didn't find her so offensive after all, so we had to get creative.
How many bags? Okay, now, pour this ice water down your pants.
We tried everything.
Eat this rat. Defuse this bomb.
Even fighting your clone. After blowing through millions of dollars of government funds on research, I came up with a brilliant idea.
Why don't we just charge 5 cents per bag?
That's a stupid idea.
Would you like a bag?
Yes.
5 cents a bag.
5 cents? 5 cents? Do I still have the option of getting punched?
Honestly, I don't know how everyone else missed it.
Why don't you just get a reusable bag?
This is the Bill Press Show.
Yes, indeed, President Obama still in Alaska. He leaves Anchorage today and goes over to Dillingham, Alaska, where he'll be meeting with local fishermen and their families. And then the president goes to, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, Kotzebue, maybe, Alaska. And we'll be meeting with school children there, as well as taking a tour of some environmental projects in that area. And then he will be heading back to Washington, D.C., arriving way back here probably early tomorrow morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The hardest moments for me is when I'm laying awake in the middle of the night and I'm thinking about all the times I made a pitcher of Kool-Aid with the water, or I boiled a pot of corn or potatoes with the water. Those thoughts just stick with me in the middle of the night, and I feel horrible as a mom that I didn't know that something was wrong, but how could I have known? There's no way I would have known.
The spill at Dan River happened when a drainage pipe that ran underneath an ash basin and dam collapsed, sucking out 6 decades of waste and spewing gunk directly into the river.
My husband and I just kind of looked at each other like, should we be concerned? We live right next to an ash pond, and this was coal ash spilling into the Dan River, and we learned at that point all of the toxins that were included in coal ash.
A situation like Dan River, where there was a catastrophic disaster, gets people's attention, but the fact is that these coal ash pits have been leaking and poisoning people's groundwater and the state's surface waters for decades. Coal ash is the residue left behind after coal is burned in a coal-fired power plant. A large coal-fired power plant can burn 10 million tons of coal a year. When the organic matter in the coal is burned away, what's left behind are these trace minerals, things like arsenic, lead, mercury, selenium, and chromium. And these are highly concentrated. The coal ash can have concentrations of these contaminants that are 10 to 100 times greater than the level in the coals themselves.
Coal ash pond number 1 is right behind my house, literally pretty much in my backyard. We were approached by a neighbor who was wanting to have their well tested, and we decided that maybe we should have ours tested as well. They found hexavalent chromium at 4.5 parts per billion.
So in talking to the residents, we have discovered anecdotal evidence of an extraordinary number of cancers for this fairly small community.
some of us in the community got together. We started kind of talking about all the cancer that we've seen in some of our family friends in this community. I think we had somewhere in the neighborhood of around 70 names. So we had some help from our river keepers putting a map together. And it was a little shocking to see it. You know, I still have a hard time looking at it.
Technically, EPA has not regulated coal ash as a hazardous waste, but it is undeniable that coal ash contains many, many hazardous substances that are hazardous, in fact, to people and the environment. And the only reason they have not been regulated as such is because of intense lobbying efforts by the coal industry and its allies.
A lot of these chemicals are simple elements, but when you find them at the levels that they exist in around coal ash ponds, then you're starting to talk about cancer, brain tumors, you're talking about birth defects, developmental problems, neurotoxicity.
We began to look at legal options, cases that we could bring in court to protect communities and their citizens from these toxic leaking time bombs. In 2002, North Carolina enacted a public financing mechanism for judicial elections. This kept private money out of judicial elections.
The repeal of the public financing program in judicial elections in North Carolina creates a dangerous precedent for all, and it gives corporate polluters and other special interests the opportunity to elect the judges that they want. And this is important for us all. Everyone should care about this. Because when you think about the fact that the state and the federal government have basically abdicated their responsibility to regulate these issues, the state courts are the last stopgap.
I think this is no longer a problem that's going to go under the radar. It has been exposed, and I am confident that we will ultimately, with the facts, win out and ensure that we have protected waterways.
And so this is something that we all should care about. If we're worried about the water we drink and the air we breathe, we have to be concerned about money in judicial elections.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Two more Democratic senators, Chris Coons and Bob Casey, come out in support of the Iran nuclear deal, bringing President Obama to the magic number of 33, one short of the 34 votes he needs to block any veto of the Iran deal in the United States Senate. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to the Bill Press Show here on Wednesday, September 2nd. So good to see you. And we thank you for joining us to take a little quick roundup of the news of the day on every front here in Washington, around the country, and around the globe. And also to talk with Democratic presidential candidate, Governor Martin O'Malley, a little bit later in this hour. You can join the conversation at 866-55-PRESS. Look forward to taking your calls and look forward to reading your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. You know, we got such an awesome responsibility as interviewing a candidate for president. You just can't do it on your own. You need some help. Boy, I brought in a real pro today to help us out this hour as a friend of Bill the entire hour. Ray Locker, you know him. He's the Washington Enterprise editor for USA Today. Hello, Ray.
I'm ready, Bill.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right.
I got my helmet strapped on.
Good. Good to see you, man.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
You had a good summer?
I did have a good summer, yeah.
Get away from Washington?
I went to London in July. Saw my daughter graduate from college.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
That's exciting.
And we're sending her back.
To live there, work there?
She's going to grad school.
Oh, yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good for you.
Never over.
It is never over.
No, that's right, too.
But I'm over. I'm not paying for any more.
There you go.
Done. Hello, student loans.
Nice.
There we go. You know the team here, Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson. Hello,
Hey.
guys.
Good morning.
Ray Rogers is here to take your calls at 866-55-PRESS, and Cyprian Bolding's got the cameras and the lights going strong on Free Speech TV, worldwide on TawkrTV. You know, one of the big stories these days is what's happening down in Kentucky, Ray, with this clerk in Kentucky who disagrees with the Supreme Court decision on same-sex marriage, and she has stopped issuing marriage licenses, period, in whatever county that is down in Kentucky. Yesterday, a couple of guys showed up and to try to get a marriage license out of her, and once again, she refused to budge. Here's how that little exchange went in the clerk's office.
Under whose authority are you not issuing licenses?
Did your lawyers tell you?
I don't believe
God
in your
tell
God.
you to do this? Did God tell you to treat us
I don't
like
believe in
this?
your God.
God's authority, she says. She doesn't care about the Supreme Court. It's God's authority she's following.
Well, good luck to her on that.
Yeah, right.
It's not going to work. I mean, she's entitled to her opinion. However, she also has to do her job, and the court ruled that. And it has the governor, who doesn't agree with the court's opinion, said, look, this is the law. You have to follow the law. It's your job.
Yeah, and she has been ordered to appear in court tomorrow. Her name is Kim Davis. She says she's going under God's law. God's authority is what she is following. She has a very loose, attitude toward marriage when it comes to God's law, as Peter discovered a little earlier today.
Here is Kim Davis, this crusader of morality. U.S. News and World Report has a little write-up on her. Kim Davis has been married 4 times. She was divorced in 1994, 2006, and 2008. She gave birth to twins 5 months after divorcing her first husband. They were fathered by her third husband, but adopted by her second husband. Follow that.
I think I just popped an aneurysm trying to follow that.
It's a Ray Stevens song, I'm pretty sure.
All I can say is she's a big believer in marriage. Whoever happens to be with at the time.
That's right. That's right.
As long as it's that straight. One song, Love the One You're With?
At the time.
Yeah.
That's a great song, by the way. There is a country western song in this woman's life.
Absolutely.
She may have already, inspired some. We just don't know it yet.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it.
All right. Anyhow, so Martin O'Malley coming up with us a little bit later in the hour. We'll also be joined by Rebecca Leber. Is that how you pronounce her name?
Rebecca Leber.
Leber,
yeah.
sorry, from the New Republic. But first,
This
Give
is
Peter
the
a chance
Full Court
to
Press.
Yes, indeed.
tell us the big stories of the day.
Just a couple of other stories making news. A new study by the U.S. National Institute on Drug Abuse found out some good news. College students are smoking less cigarettes for the first time in a very, very long time. Cigarette usage is down 6%. So that's good news. The other news is they are now smoking a joint daily by 5% more than they were in previous years. So pot use is up, cigarette use is down. So I guess that's overall good news?
I think it's the right trend.
Yeah, right?
On both. Yeah.
Go for it.
It helps with classes a lot to have a joint.
Yeah, I'm just not sure they're awake right now to be listening to us.
Those super boring classes, that's one way to get through it, man. That's for sure. Hey, you feel like you get colds every so often? Here's one thing you can do to fight those colds. Get some sleep. Get some sleep. They say that vitamin C and zinc show up more often in the system of people who have regular sleep patterns. This is very bad news for you and I, Bill.
Me too.
And Ray, yeah, this is just bad news all around. Sleep deprivation is a huge factor in staying healthy in terms of warding off illnesses. So if you want to try and stay a little healthier, get a little more sleep. This study says 7 hours of sleep each night is what you should get. This is from the Department of Psychiatry at the University of California, San Francisco.
I'm screwed.
We're out of luck.
I already feel the
not gonna
sniffles
happen.
coming on.
I'm hosed.
Yeah,
I'm totally hosed.
Long time since I got 7 hours of sleep.
7 hours of sleep a week? I can probably, I'm fine with that. No, it's a night. It's per night. And big news, Bill, it's finally official. Yesterday, McDonald's made it official. They are going to roll out all-day breakfast nationwide. They've been testing this for a little while. So if you want to get your Egg McMuffin at any time of day, you can have that beginning October 6th. They put it up to franchisees. They got to vote whether or not they thought that this would disrupt their business. And overwhelmingly, they said, no, it's not going to disrupt our business. We would like to do that. So they're going to start selling McDonald's breakfast around the clock.
Well, I think that's a response to the fact that their numbers are tanking. I think this is the first year in a long time they've actually had fewer McDonald's nationwide than the previous year.
Oh, wow.
And it's just an indication of the changing eating habits that people have.
Totally.
Sure. But you know, at McDonald's, every day they do something different to try to lure me into a McDonald's, Ray, and none of it
Still
works.
not going.
Works.
Still
They're not
going.
covering like an Egg McMuffin with chocolate or something like that.
That's the next probably. All right. Here we go. Thank you, Peter. 14 minutes after the hour. Ray, I want to start by talking about we've all been covering and trying to figure out the Trump phenomenon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so public policy polling came out with a report yesterday. I don't know whether you had a chance to see it, but which I find really stunning. So what is behind the Trump phenomenon, the Trump success, the Trump popularity? They talked to the Trump supporters. Listen to these numbers. So who are the Trump supporters? 66% of them believe Barack Obama is a Muslim. Wait, let me get you. 61% of Trump supporters don't think he was born in the United States. So sure, he was not born in the United States. And 63% of Trump supporters want to overturn the 14th Amendment and ban birthright citizenship. I mean, these are the extreme people of the Republican Party.
Right.
Or
if they're actually,
or
if they're Republican voters at all. I mean, it's hard to
that's-
tell where they come from. They say they're going to vote for him. They say they're registered Republicans. Have they voted before? We don't know. And we'll only know come February when Iowa votes, and we get a sense of who's out there really.
Yeah. And by the way, what's also stunning, I think, in this PPP poll is that the Trump supporters are not far off from the GOP electorate. Okay, overall Republican voters they looked at, 51% want to eliminate birthright citizenship. 54% of the GOP electorate think President Obama is a Muslim, and only 29% believe he was born in the United States, meaning 71% believe he wasn't born. I mean,
Right.
You can't get rid of this nonsense.
It's an angry group of people out there. I think many of them live in places where they don't know many minorities. What minorities they do see or know. indicates a kind of change to them that they're not comfortable with. And I think Obama's a representative of that. I mean, they don't know anybody who voted for him. Ergo, his election must have been fake somehow. He's like the Manchurian candidate or the Kenyan candidate, whatever you want to call him. And, you know, there's a lot of anger pent up about that. They feel like, you know, they're losing out on whatever country they had. And, I mean, it's a point of view. It's not one that I necessarily agree with. I understand it. It's sometimes hard to come to grips with, but I mean, they're out there, and he's kind of captured that.
So Trump is not fading as fast as we thought he would fade, but does he fade at all?
I think he does.
Still do.
I don't think he's a real candidate in terms of he doesn't have the campaign apparatus. So much of it is a force of his personality. I think that makes it hard to build a campaign.
Right.
He's having these loose coalitions of people from state to state, and he hasn't really been tested yet. And we're starting to see Jeb Bush, the one candidate who does have the money at his disposal, start to do that. And people, I think that's an indication that Republican candidates realize if you're going to beat Donald Trump, you have to beat him.
Yeah.
He's not going away.
Yeah.
And the challenge you see in a multi-candidate field like this is everybody knows the front runner needs to be knocked off. Nobody wants to be the person who does that, because then if you get in a two-person battle, somebody who's not in that battle can run around the outside and say, I'm not one of these two jerks who you keep seeing arguing all the time. Apparently Bush doesn't care.
Yeah.
I think he realizes that there are enough Republican voters who want Trump to go away, and that if he's the guy to make Trump go away, he will collect a lot of that support.
It seems to me there's another phenomenon here, too, which is the only way that any of the other candidates today can get any press, any attention, any ink is to challenge, to have Donald Trump attack them, or for them to attack Donald Trump. Look at Lindsey Graham.
Yeah.
This headline of Donald Trump feuds with blank is a pretty evergreen headline these days.
It's up there with Nicki Minaj feuds with whoever, you know. Now if we can get the two of them to get in a Twitter
Donald Trump
war.
feuds with Nicki Minaj.
All right, so we've been waiting for some candidate. We knew Donald Trump would fade eventually, or whatever, start to slip, and we're waiting to see which of the 16 other candidates would be the one to emerge, right? And it turns out to be, for now, Ben Carson, which I find equally puzzling. What's the appeal? I don't see a campaign or a message or a whatever.
I think people like him because he's different. I think they like him also because he's black. I think there's part of the whole Herman Cain phenomenon from 2011, 2012. I think there are a number of Republican voters who gravitate toward him because that.
He's certainly not threatening.
No, he's not threatening.
And he's the opposite of Trump, if you will.
Yes.
I mean, some of the things he said have been pretty outrageous, but he's not a,
he doesn't say them in an outrageous way.
Exactly. Yeah.
And he seems like basically what he is, a retired neurosurgeon. I mean, other than some of the stuff that he says, which is a little troubling, I'd feel comfortable being on the table having his fingers inside my head. He doesn't seem very, flappable. And so I think people like that.
And again, in for the long haul?
No, I think that evaporates come Iowa. Again, I don't see the money or the organization there to really make it happen. And we're not really engaged yet. I mean, we've gone through August. August is always crazy. It's not indicative of, remember August 2003, John Kerry, toast, right? He's not going anywhere. He's the nominee. August 2007, John McCain, his campaign's crumbling. He's not going anywhere. He's the nominee. No, neither one of them got elected president, but they did very well. So what happens at this time of the year and an off year doesn't necessarily dictate who the nominee is. Hillary Clinton, August 2007. Well, she's going to be the president in 2009, right?
Yeah. They were already calling her Madam President.
People have different ideas. The battle gets joined, and, December, January, people do a lot of TV ads. All sorts of stuff changes.
Right. A lot of time left. Ray Locker with us from USA Today, 866-55-PRESS. We'll save you a seat at the table here. Join us, and we'll be right back.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine.
Virginia Tech.
Tucson.
Aurora.
Fort Hood. Oak Creek.
Newtown.
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 How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To not look
the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us. All of us.
To stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour, Martin O'Malley coming up in the next half hour here of the Bill Press Show. Ray Lockett here with us from USA Today. What did I do there? Ray, I want to ask you about the what Republicans believe, and a lot of the media seem to believe, is going to be the end of Hillary Clinton, and that's the great big email scandal. How bad is it?
I think it's a really hype scandal right now. I think it was really dumb of her to create a private email server. I think
Which, by the way, she is now finally admitted.
Right. Yes, and mostly because it's biting her in the ass. But I haven't seen the there yet. I know a lot of people are looking. I know we've been looking. I've read through thousands of pages of her emails. I haven't found anything damning. I mean, one of the last batch was her advocacy for gefilte fish on behalf of a very conservative Republican congressman, Don Manzullo.
From Illinois.
Illinois. She's doing her job. There were things that were redacted in these emails. Look, I go through thousands of government documents over the course of the year. I see redaction upon redaction. Some of them make me raise my eyebrows. Some of them make me wonder what's under the black ink. Right now, I don't know what's under the black ink, but if somebody knew there was something bad there, we'd know it, and we'd know it forcefully. And instead, it's just kind of this lingering death by a thousand cuts. I think it slows her down. I don't think it derails her path toward the nomination. I think she's going to be the Democratic nominee, and I don't think this is going to stop her.
If this is what Republicans are depending on to stop her, they better find something else.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, there's a lot of reasons why you can go after her. First of all, a lot of people just don't like her. She doesn't have the kind of manner. She's certainly not her husband. Mm-hmm. She's not Obama. She's not even Mitt Romney. I mean, she just doesn't have that. And so if you want that in somebody you're going to see on TV for the next 4 years, she needs to do some work on that. And she's one of these people everybody says, well, if you really knew the real her, well, come on. You've had 23 years in the national spotlight to show people the real you. And there are millions of Americans, millions of Democrats who want to see the real her.
Yeah, well, she better show the real her pretty soon.
I'm guessing they've already seen it.
Again, we are waiting for Martin O'Malley coming up. In the meantime, Rebecca Leber from the New Republican joins us right.
This is the Bill Press Show.
How I've been affected by gun violence over the years is through deaths of friends and family members and associates.
When I was 5 years old, I was held at gunpoint in a home invasion.
I've gone to the juvenile detention centers and I've met dozens of young kids, babies really, who have been affected by gun violence.
Directly, I've lost a few friends, but I think why this touches my heart is having children of my own.
You know, I've been at parties where, you know, I had just left the party and, you know, maybe 10, 15 minutes later, you know, I heard that, you know, somebody got shot and didn't make it.
There are a lot of people benefiting off of our pain, and it's time we do something.
I'm here to unload my investment because I think that it's important that we start kind of seeing where our money is going.
It's time to go to your financial advisor and demand that there are no gun investments in your 401k.
Even if you don't have investments, you can still help spread the word.
This is something everyone can do.
So if you push your people that have 401ks, it might be your grandma, it might be your cousin, this effort can make a big impact.
I'm unloading for my loved ones that I lost.
I'm unloading for my 18-year-old self.
I'm unloading my 401k for the future of my children.
I'm unloading.
I'm unloading
for my family and their future.
I'm unloading so that my daughter can grow up in a safe, loving world.
Unload and join the movement.
Use hashtag I'm unloading to pledge your support for gun-free investing.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
Hey, Free Speech TV world, it's Mama and the Mooks here at the Stephanie Miller Show.
Hello. Good morning.
You know, the Seinfeld was about nothing. I think the Stephanie Miller Show is about everything.
A little bit
isn't it?
everything.
Yeah, a little
It's
bit.
kind of everything like thrown into a blender and we hit frappe.
Right.
With wine poured in.
Right. Senators, fart jokes, politics, pop culture, entertainment.
Drinking.
Drinking, random stray thoughts. It's what all the hip kids are talking about.
Yep.
We have the smartest, funniest people in the country on this show, do we not?
We absolutely do.
Right?
Our sexy liberal army of callers call in every day to tell us all about it.
There you go. And some right-wingers that Travis particularly enjoys talking to.
They're my favorites.
Okay. You can watch us every weekday from 9 to noon Eastern or 6 to 9 Pacific, which is really early. But we still, we try to, we're still pulling in people like Rob Reiner, Lily Tomlin, Frangela, you name it. You can only get it here at the Stephanie Miller Show. Mama, Mooks, fancy celebrities.
And everything.
And fart jokes.
Free Speech TV.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Egg.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, 33 minutes after the hour, Wednesday, September 2nd, The Bill Press Show. Brought to you today by, we're coming to you from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and brought to you today by AFSCME. Good men and women of AFSCME under President Lee Saunders, the largest public employee and healthcare workers union in the entire country, making America happen in many different ways, and find out more at their website, www.afscme.org. AFSCME.org. Ray Locker is the Washington Enterprise editor for USA Today, here in studio with us as a friend of Bill. And joining us at this moment, Rebecca Leber is a staff writer for the New Republican covering environmental and climate change issues. Hi, Rebecca. How are you doing?
Good.
A lot of focus on climate change these couple of days because President Obama is up in Alaska. That's what he's talking about. Yesterday, he went out to get a very sort of powerful, a very powerful example of the effects of climate change, which he talked about, and there's a little hike to the Exit Glacier. Here's the president yesterday.
The pace of the reductions of the glacier are accelerating rapidly each and every year. And this is as good of a signpost of what we're dealing with when it comes to climate change as just about anything.
Yeah, so this trip up to Alaska, do you think will serve the president well in terms of getting some action from Congress on climate change?
Probably not from Congress. This is part of Obama's 11-day tour to highlight climate, environment, and building community resilience against the effects of climate change. So by going to Alaska, he is trying to paint a portrait of what climate change actually looks like. The problem is a few weeks ago, he also gave a green light to Shell to start drilling in the Arctic or explore for oil in the Arctic. And that has amounted to a lot of criticism on this trip from environmentalists.
It's it is a kind of a mixed message, his message in Alaska, isn't it, Ray?
Well, a little bit. I mean, he throws Shell a bone by giving them this exploration permit, which has been in the pipeline for a long time. I mean, oil's at $40 a barrel now. Maybe there's not much of an incentive for Shell to start exploring or drilling in that area. Just as there's not much of an incentive for the oil companies to start, dredging up the tar sands in Alberta. That exploration, that development only works when you have expensive oil, which we don't have right now. So maybe when you couple some of the things he's been doing on renewable energy and what's happening around the world, maybe that drives the price of oil down and creates a disincentive for more of that exploration and production in areas that are environmentally sensitive.
Yeah. So the economics of it could be working against the oil companies. But Shell has already moved their platform up there, haven't they? I mean,
yeah, they're exploring. They do have a hard stop in September to this season because Arctic weather is a bit unpredictable. But the thing with Shell, it's drilling for oil there is a very long-term prospect. They don't expect to see profitability for decades. So by proving it, Obama is actually allowing for more oil and gas production, and we don't know the exact economics in a decade from now where oil prices will be.
Right. So has he in effect given up in terms of you seem to getting any climate change legislation through Congress?
Well, this is Obama trying to do everything but getting legislation through Congress.
Anything he can by executive order,
I think
right?
he's come to terms with the remote possibility of Congress passing legislation. So he's trying to drum up support for an international deal on climate change. There's a conference at the end of the year.
I was just going to say, it's all leading up to Paris, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's trying to do that and show the world that he can do this without the support from Republicans.
This is a legacy issue for him, isn't it?
Oh, I think so. I mean, and he's done a lot of things so far, certainly through his use of presidential power. And I think when you look back at it, say in 20 years or even sooner, you'll see a lot of those things coming into play. Just like now, you see the legacy of the Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, how this president and others have used parts of those laws to kind of build off of that. And many of the executive actions that he's taken are rooted in that legislation. And you can see that by, the different parts of the laws that they cite to justify their actions now.
Example being, Rebecca, the most recent rulings from EPA on new power plants.
Yeah,
correct?
this whole trip, part of that is to also to drum up support for the Clean Power Plan. So he's been speaking in Nevada, Louisiana, to talk about how we're going to cut a third of carbon emissions from electricity sector.
And you talk about economics and energy prices. One of the things driving a lot of that at power plants is the extremely low price of natural gas, which we're, more and more of these power plants are using. And that, not the, mythical war on coal, is behind a lot of the, decline in coal production and coal use is, utilities find that they can use gas instead of coal, get it more cheaply, and cut their emissions. So, I mean, a lot of times the economic forces drive this, in concert with whatever action the government takes.
The one thing I'm going to come back to is that the president's, it's safe to say, isn't it, Rebecca, that he has done more than any other president in terms of renewable energy and moving us to a non-fossil fuel energy future.
Yeah, I think
correct?
So. Yeah.
I mean, even if you don't agree with everything he's done, or you wish he had done a lot more, which I do, he's done more than anybody else. But he's still, as I believe, his energy policy is still all of the above, right?
Yeah, I think you see that him struggling with that here. The administration has defended these actions of approving Shell and not having a decision yet on Keystone Pipeline. But these are still areas where Obama's done a lot more on the demand side and consumption side, increasing energy efficiency and obviously clean energy.
The new cafe standards for cars are, 53 miles an hour or something like that?
So those are huge. But where he's still criticized is not addressing the supply side and at the source. So this being Shell producing more oil for decades.
So his energy policy, while it's focused on renewables, still does contain nuclear. It still does contain more domestic drilling, and it still might contain Keystone Pipeline. Ray, will it? What's going to happen with Keystone?
I think Keystone is one of those issues that just kind of may peter out. I think it's
maybe just forget about it.
It may just be forgotten about if there's not the economic incentive to do it. If Harper loses in Canada in October, maybe it goes away for a while. He's the guy been pushing that. I think it's become an overblown issue on both sides. It's not going to create the kind of jobs that its proponents say that it will. Right. And if the economic conditions are there to support production of that energy is going to be produced. Those tar sands are going to be developed, and that's going somewhere. It just might not go through Keystone. And so I think if you stop Keystone, you don't stop that. And that's why that's an overblown thing to me.
Is the president going to Paris? Has it been announced yet?
I don't think it's been announced, but they're
Do you think he will?
I think if you look at history, he probably will. In Copenhagen, he made a last minute trip there, and that was when we didn't see this kind of push from the White House around this issue. So I would expect so.
Copenhagen was probably a little premature and not much was accomplished. But in Paris, he's got some things he can point to and now says, we've done the boom, 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 right?
Well, he's got the deal that he cut last November with China. He also made progress with India when Modi was here last fall and when he went there in January. So there's a potential to get these two giant economies that are still growing rapidly, and India is, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, to get them on board. And if he can make some progress with them, perhaps in some kind of joint forum, then that would be a good thing. And I'm sure they're working on it. Yeah. I don't know if they have worked on it enough to get to the point where he's going to commit to going, because the risk of embarrassment is high. Right.
Climate change, I don't think there's any more important issue facing the planet, and this president is way out in front on it. And certainly in the last, for the last couple of days, he's been focusing on that issue up in Alaska. Rebecca, thanks for coming in today, telling us all about it.
Thanks.
All right. Rebecca, I should have mentioned, I think I did, with the New Republic, but the website is TNR.com. You can follow her good work there. Thanks, Rebecca. See you. And we'll be back with Governor Martin O'Malley, Democratic candidate for president.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
What gets you into college? Good SAT scores? High GPA? Lots of extracurriculars?
Sure, but what you really need is money.
If you don't have the cash, you'll need a loan.
And we mean huge student loans because the cost of college has risen 1,000% in the last 30 years.
This means big money for the banks that collect fees and interest.
Now, millions of young people are starting their adult lives with an average of $29,000 of loans on their backs.
Altogether, we're talking $1.2 trillion in student debt.
And more people are finding it impossible to pay them back. Welcome to the student debt crisis.
The increasing demand for higher education and cuts to state funding gave colleges a huge incentive to keep inflating prices.
I graduated about a year ago, currently in $35,000 of debt.
I am in debt about like $25,000.
I owe $23,000.
I owe over $50,000 in student loans.
38.8 million Americans owe money on a student loan.
And the biggest names in banking are making huge profits off the booming student loan industry. Sallie Mae, the largest provider of private student loans, made $949 million last year.
They only give you about 6 months to look for a job. You have to start paying back the loan. It's very pressuring, especially nowadays. It's very hard to find a job.
Over half of the students graduating in 2012 could not find a decent paying job.
They either had low-wage jobs or unpaid internships or were unemployed altogether.
So you can't make the payments. You start incurring late fees, which makes the loan even harder to pay off.
And it stays with you for years, even decades.
Right now, a third of the people who started repaying their loans are delinquent or in default.
That's 13.7 million people, more than the populations of Chicago, New York, and San Francisco combined.
Worse, it's not just the borrowers who are in trouble. Many loans require co-signers.
So if the student is unable to pay, that co-signer, a father, a mother, or a grandparent, is now on the hook.
Even a grandparent's Social Security benefits can be garnished to pay the loan.
We should have an answer to this. If you get really behind in your car payment or your credit cards, you can file for bankruptcy.
but Congress has made it nearly impossible to discharge student loans through bankruptcy.
Big institutions make big profits while students try to make ends meet under crushing debt.
Is this how we want our education system to work?
The whole point of going to college is to get the career you want, but lately that's been discouraged because no one can afford school. You get a job just to pay off your student loans.
We need higher education, not higher debt.
Sign up to end the student debt crisis at higherednotdebt.org.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go at 13 minutes now before the top of the hour on a Wednesday, September 2nd. Coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station, coast to coast, and also coast to coast on Free Speech TV. I mentioned last Friday I had the fun and honor of going out to Minneapolis to the summer meeting of the DNC to hear 4 outstanding candidates for president. The thing that impressed me most is how good and how strong and how credible our 4 Democratic candidates for president are compared to those 17 clowns on the other side. And the Democratic candidate that I thought that made the most impact at the DNC was Governor Martin O'Malley, former governor of Maryland, challenging the DNC on their rules about debates, which he said were unfair to other candidates. Governor Martin O'Malley joins us on our news line this morning. In studio with us, of course, Ray Locker here from USA Today. Governor, good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Bill. Good to be with you.
So seeing you and Link Chafee and Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton on stage, again, all 4 of you, outstanding candidates. Governor, why you over those other 3 guys?
I would say because I have not only made progressive promises and hold the progressive values, I've actually brought people together to achieve progressive results. Among them, the best public schools in America, making college more affordable for more people in my state by going 4 years in a row without a penny's increase to college tuition, passing the DREAM Act, passing marriage equality, passing comprehensive gun safety legislation, and defending 2 of those 3 at the ballot when they were petitioned there by our Republican brothers and sisters to cynically try to kill them. Instead, we took our case to the people, and the people responded because they're a lot smarter and more intelligent than some of these cynical Republicans think. So it's important that we are all able to profess progressive values, but it's also very important to have someone in the White House with the executive skills who can get things done, and the new leadership required to move us past these rather divided times.
On the debate issue, Governor, you there right in front of the DNC, in front of the people who made the decision, said it was not fair to have just 4 debates before Iowa. Why is it important to have more debates?
Because we have, as you said, Bill, we have good candidates, and we offer the ideas that actually will serve our country and get wages to go up rather than down. Right now, the airwaves are being dominated entirely by talk of the Republican side of this ledger. To the extent that we talk about Democratic candidates for president, it's almost always in the sand trap of what did Hillary Clinton know about her emails and when did she know it? That's not a good brand for success in the fall. We have to take to the airwaves. We should hold debates. It is unprecedented that the head of the DNC, on her sole prerogative, seek to limit Iowa to just 1 debate before the Iowa caucuses. And in New Hampshire, 1 debate before the New Hampshire primary. That's never happened before. And the threat that any of us who participate in further debates will be banned from the so-called sanctioned DNC debates has never been done before. This is not how the Democratic Party is supposed to work. This is the undemocratic party. And we need to take to the airwaves. We need to push back against the racist hate speech of Donald Trump and the Republicans who haven't the backbone to stand up to him. And we need to tell the American people our story of how we can build upon these 8 years of progress, a country creating jobs again, and move to the next phase, which is to get wages to go up for all Americans again.
All right, so yesterday, Governor, we saw the Republican National Committee actually changed its debate rules in response to the complaints from some candidates. Do you think the Democratic Party should do the same thing?
I think that the arc of history always moves to fuller participation and fuller inclusion. And it's a shame that right now the DNC, instead of encouraging more debates, is trying to limit debates. And if you notice, Bill, at that meeting, there was only one person who didn't agree with my message, and that was the DNC chair. The rest of the members stood up and applauded enthusiastically at the end of that message. They know this is ridiculous. We should be the party that puts our candidates on the stage where, at least instead of bashing immigrants or trying to roll back women's rights, we'll be talking about the things we can do for our country.
Governor, this is Ray Locker of USA Today. One of the things that I imagine would be discussed in any DNC debate is the Iran deal. And what I'm curious about is where you stand on that, given that your state's 2 senators have yet to publicly declare.
Yeah, I'm in favor of it. I believe that we are a strong enough country to give peace a chance. Our state was one of the earliest states to pass a very, very tough Iran divestment bill, and the purpose of it was to push our adversaries to the negotiating table. So I'm a realist. I know this deal has to be monitored, has to be enforced, and we have to be prepared to put sanctions and other options back in place. But I am in favor of this negotiated agreement to prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon.
Have you had a chance to talk to Senator Cardin or Senator Mikulski about it?
I have not spoken to either of them directly lately on this, but I have stated that position several times, and I believe it's been reported in the local press many times.
Governor, you mentioned you not only have an impressive progressive record, but you've also put out a 15-page goal blueprint, progressive blueprint, if you will, agenda with 15 goals. And today you're adding one more to it and talking about national service. Would you make national service mandatory for American citizens? What's your plan?
My plan is to make it a universal option for every kid, every American, young American that wants to serve their country and go into national service. I would not make it a mandatory thing like a forced service, but I would make it a universal option, and I believe that there's a lot of public support for this. Of the 15 strategic goals we put out to rebuild the American dream, one of them is to cut youth unemployment in half in the next 3 years. We can do that, and national service can help us get there. It can also be an option in conjunction with increased Pell Grants to allow kids to go finish their college and to do so without graduating with a whole mountain of debt on top of their shoulders. And I think also, Bill, it's necessary to rebuild the fabric of our American society, if you will, what de Tocqueville called the strength of soft ties, to have young Americans actually work from different walks of life, different backgrounds, be able to work side by side, restoring our environment, teaching in our schools, doing public health work, I think would be very important for the soul of our country.
Governor Martin O'Malley, there are so many issues, so much to talk about, and we barely scratched the surface. Appreciate your time today. Congratulations, good luck, and I hope we'll be able to talk again soon so we can, complete the conversation.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I'll call you from Iowa or New Hampshire, where we're gaining ground in both those early states. Thank you.
And that's where you got to be. Thanks, Governor. Thanks so much for joining us. Yeah.
Thank you.
And we'll be back and wrap it up here with Ray Locker, Governor Martin O'Malley. Coming on strong as Democratic candidate for president. It's martino'malley.com.
Help keep all the presidential candidates straight with your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show. Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends and neighbors, what do you say? Good morning. Great to see you this morning. This is The Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., bringing you up to date on all the news of the day, whether it's happening here in our nation's capital, around the country, around the globe. Coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, and worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV. Events in the nation's capital. Hi, everybody. It's Bill Press. This year marks the 10th anniversary of doing the Bill Press Show. Every day, covering the news of the day with the nation's top newsmakers. either on the line or in our studio right here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Not only that, I go to the White House briefings every day to get answers to the top questions of the day. Bottom line, if it's happening in Washington, D.C., either at the White House or the Capitol, we are all over it. Every day, we welcome to our studio political leaders and reporters and labor leaders and newsmakers to help us understand the issues of the day. You know, we started out as a radio show only, but over the years, we have branched out to all forms of the new media. So today, we're not just a radio show. We are podcasting, streaming audio, streaming video, and we are simulcast live on Free Speech TV nationwide, reaching out to 40 million households on Free Speech TV, in addition to hundreds of thousands on local radio stations and online.
AFGE is so proud to be associated with this show and looks forward to being working with Bill and this show for a long time.
Bill Press is the right man at the right time with the right message.
And thanks to the Bill Press Show, we get our message out to thousands and thousands of people every day. Thank you, Bill Press.
The Teamsters are a proud partner with Bill Press on his show, telling the truth about what's going on with working families. Tune in.
Yes, it's been a fun and exciting 10 years so far for the Bill Press Show. We're looking forward to many more with all of you, broadcasting live every morning from the nation's capital.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
Joining us to thank Ray Locker for being here. You know, Ray, I think if there's a candidate who could bust through, if he's got the resources to hang in there, it could be Governor Martin O'Malley.
I think he's got a decent message and a lot going for him.
You got it. We'll see you back here tomorrow, folks. We'll be looking for you.
This is the Bill Press Show.